rolling here. Call the meeting to order. We're opening today with a student presentation. We got our Rotary Interact Club. That's a new club that we started just between the spring and the fall here. We have a presentation from them tonight. So I turn the floor over to our Rotary crew. Well, you can go here to be on camera. Live stream to kind of put you over here. So kind of good.
And if you need a microphone, let me know.
Well, hi everybody, thank you so much for having us. My name is Melanie Miller. I'm part of the Cosmetology Lab and I am president of our new club. So yeah, we just wanted to come and explain it. So our first slide is who we are. We are a new community service-based club here at ECTS. We are part of the Rotary Club of Erie, and we are a student-led and a community-driven service. Okay, and then my name is Sarah. I am just a part of this club. I am in the Cosmetology Lab, and what we do is we are currently working on fundraisers and a bunch of other things for both the school and the community. Our goal this year is to do 2 service projects, and then our meetings are held once or twice a month. We work with the City of Erie Borough of Public Works on our projects, and we are securing donations and sponsorships in the community.
So before we go to the next slide, my name is Darlene Newell. I'm a cosmetology instructor.
I'm Elena Letstein, the sports therapy instructor.
So we are the advisors with this club, and so I'd like to expound upon the 2 service projects that we're doing for the school year. So we are doing a peace poll that has been recommended by the Rotary Club of Erie, and what that's entailing is the Metal Fab program, who is going to construct the peace pole, our drafting program, who is going to put the 10 languages on the peace pole and work it out for their lab and how it's going to fit on the peace pole. And then with construction trades, they are making a bench that is going to be placed across from the peace pole that construction trades will make up.
And then facility maintenance is going to do the landscaping around the area. It's just a small area in front of
The old post office.
the old post office. Just to kind of brighten up that area, this is something the Rotary Club actually brought to us. This is not something the Interact Club came up with, but the Rotary Club asked us if we would be willing to assist with this. So that's kind of how we got involved in that one. Our second service project would be something that we would do for the school, for our club.
Yes, so that's going to be coming next year, but at least we have the 1 service project in the works as we speak.
Yep, that'll be set to be kind of showcased in May. They're hoping to get all of that ready, and they're going to do a reveal and a big community service kind of party event.
Yep. So Mr. Rivert is involved with that, along with the mayor and then the president of the Rotary Club. So we're really excited to be involved with this program. So Ms. Aylin, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ayla. I'm also in cosmetology, and I am this club's president-elect. And I will be speaking on why we do this. So basically, the president-elect, I am basically elected to be president next year for this club as well. I will fill in for like the treasurer, the secretary, and the vice president cannot attend the meeting that day. I'm basically the fill-in for that. So basically, the Erie Rotary Club wanted more help and support from students around Erie County, and they came to the tech school and asked us for our help to provide with the issues around the county or projects around the county. So we just help and do our service and basically just kind of give them our efforts.
So our last thing is we just wanted to introduce the officers. While unfortunately not a lot of us can be here today, we are still, as you can see, a lot of us are juniors and seniors, and so we're very, very busy people. And so as much as I wish we could
Our vice president is Riley Kenter. She is part of the sports therapy program. She is also a senior and she goes to Harvard Creek, I believe. Okay. Then we have our secretary, who is Hannah Anderson. She is a junior in the cosmetology program and she also goes to Northeast. And then we have our treasurer, her name is Emily. She is a senior as well. She goes to General McLean. And then our president-elect, Ayla, who is, as she said, she is a junior. She goes to Northwestern and she's in cosmetology. And then these are our lovely advisors. So,
Emily's in early childhood, so
Oh,
we're trying to get, we have a lot of health, assisted students that are involved. We have a few from mental health, a few from facilities, a few from construction, as they're kind of working with this bigger project, but obviously we're hoping to have all representation from all programs.
So Sarah, would you like to talk about the festival of trees that we just partook in?
So we actually just completed one of our fundraisers for the Rotary Club. We did the Festival of Trees. Now, unfortunately, the event had to be canceled due to all the snow we got. But for next year, we are actually already planning specifically for our school. So for our school, we actually loved the Festival of Trees. So we would like to do this for our school because the last one was for the Rotary Club. So next year, we are hoping to just pick a theme. As so you may know, the theme of the Rotary Club was to do all of the flags, to represent all the different countries. So we're hoping that we can come up with one for the school and think of a common theme just to decorate the tree so we can fundraise for our school and represent just like what our school is all about.
So I'm gonna lead with the last thing. There is a bingo for the Rotary Club of Erie. It is a fundraiser Saturday, February 1st. It's gonna be at the Polish Falcons Club and our graphics media lab is going to be designing the tickets for here. So the Rotary Club is really trying to use the resources that we have from the Erie County Technical School with all the different labs and their resources. So we're super, Mrs. Letts and myself, we're really glad to be involved with this because it is student-led and we're kind of in the background and they're in the spotlight. So it's a great club and program to be part of. So that's all we got. Any questions?
Are they utilizing any other schools or just our school for the student representation?
So initially there was a program at Villa whenever Villa used to be just Villa. And then as that commercial project kind of went away, and so whenever we were approached last year, the reasoning behind being a part of it is because we have access to so many different school districts. Instead of just being focused on Fairview or McDowell or something, we have access to all of the schools that we have. So that's why we chose to do it.
But I believe Practice is beginning one, or they have a very small one right now.
But we're really cool, so.
I knew we'd get that.
Obviously.
Right.
Goes without saying.
You mentioned earlier, this is your first year.
Yes.
How many students did you get to join the club?
Oh, that's so interesting. So our first meeting was maybe 15.
Yes.
Not even, okay, we'll go with 10. Okay. And then Miss Melanie over here, she's quite the, yes, I will say that. So
Marketer.
She's a marketer. And let me just tell you, she went to Mr. Liberti and said, we need pizza. We need pizza to have the students come in. He went for it, he passed it, and it worked.
And help eat it?
It worked.
I did, actually. I mean,
We actually had
we eat well here between California and
we
pizza.
had a representative from every single school district at that meeting. Yeah, so there was well over 40 kids at that.
I was gonna say, it's in the 40s.
Yep, and we had almost all programs.
So we had like 2 meetings with the Rotary Club in the spring. We had 1 student meeting in the spring or 2.
Since we've started.
Just to organize, and then we kicked it off when we came back to school. And we had to get bylaws and all that other stuff done. We did it. But yeah, I mean, the community service, it's highlighted in my leadership report. We got a lot of good things with the kids out in the community doing some good things. So these guys are great leaders. And it's a resume builder, right? So now they can put another thing on their resume, officers of Rotary clubs, and you know, we did this, we did that, volunteer, blah, blah, blah. It's all part of building a resume. So
Congratulations to
7 different languages, are we doing 7?
10.
We're up to 10 now.
10.
10 languages on this piece.
5-sided pole, Rotary and Erie, a Rotary Club of Erie in the center, 5 on the top, 5 on the bottom.
Yeah, we went from a 4-sided pole to a pentagon pole. Metal Fab was not super excited about that.
Also, it's 6 feet in height, meaning it needs to be 10 feet to go 4 feet
down
underground.
the ground.
So, it's not exactly a small project.
File can handle it.
I will say, it was kind of neat when we went to the Rotary Club luncheon, and then we went and saw the site. It was right across from Senator Laughlin's office. So we popped in to say hello. He wasn't there, but they got to see his staff member and get selfies and all that kind of stuff in the office there. Melanie was having a good time.
It was a weird day, but
What made it weird? Now I'm curious.
well, I was told that we were just going to the Bayfront for lunch, and then the next thing I know, I was in the senator's office, and I was like, all right.
Just a very quick turn.
Yeah.
I mean, we were standing right there. I didn't know where we,
It was fun.
I didn't know where we were putting the pole, and they were like,
Yeah.
well, here,
Yeah, so
we'll
we
take
did
you to
go
the
to
pool
Mount
site, since you guys have a couple minutes before you gotta go back, we'll take you to the site where we're gonna put this pool. And I'm like, we're right here, like, any chance you can get in there to shake hands and kiss babies? Let's get the students
I
involved.
personally liked you mapping out your, like, Mrs. Newell and I are walking very, and you're just going, hey, 21 by 32, okay, great, cool, awesome.
It's football yardage. It's football yardage.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
We didn't have a team.
5 yards, 10 yards at a time. Yeah. 3 yards in a cloud of dust, right? So, well, it's fun to see these guys in action, it really is. And I can't thank our advisors enough. They do a great job leading the troops. Talking about leadership, continuously talking about leadership and service and working together. That's really, really great to see.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So next up, why don't we jump to the foundation meeting and do that business meeting, and then we'll go to the committee meeting for the board. Is that okay with everybody?
Budget presentation, I mean, the audit presentation.
Do we want to do that now or
Yeah,
as part of
that
the
was
actual?
it.
Oh man, listen, as a former student of Mr. Lane's here, we were gonna torture him as long as possible, just like he used to do back in the day.
He's already been tortured enough.
Okay, all right. All right, we'll go ahead and go to budget, let him lead, I guess.
Okay, so everyone should have basically 3 main documents. On top is, sort of the pamphlet that we hand out in presentation. We'll mainly stick to that. Beneath that is the actual financial statements. Obviously, quite lengthy. So we do kind of reference them in the, in the presentation, but we're not going to go through like every page. Probably all night. And then the last one would be just kind of our post-audit correspondence, which is, a lot of kind of boilerplate language, our responsibilities, management's responsibilities. So I don't know that there's anything, specific to note in there. So we could probably just start with the presentation. If you flip to the first page, it's basically titled Audit Opinion. We always kind of start here. We do a refresher. So in the first line here, we say the financial statements present fairly in all material respects. The position of Erie County Technical School as of June 30th, 2024. So that's basically a clean opinion, an unqualified opinion. We're saying the user can, rely on the financial statements. We believe they're free from material error. We always define materiality. It's kind of a term that gets thrown around a lot. Understand it. It's basically an item that would influence a judgment made by a reasonable user if it was omitted. So we kind of define that. As far as internal control findings, we didn't have anything new or major for this year. So I think Jessica was happy. I think we had maybe we have one page in here since we have a finding last year. We have to kind of follow up on it, and it's related to the capital assets and getting a third party in here, but that's kind of been a challenge. It's kind of a niche area, and there's a lot of companies that do it. I know it's been a problem at other schools too. But as far as new findings, we didn't add anything. Trying to kind of do one thing at a time, but I think we're definitely trending in the right direction. Like, I know it's hard for her coming in the first couple of years. I think we've definitely seen some improvement, which is like mainly what we're looking for every year, you know, to get a little better. So, yeah, I think overall we were pretty happy. We definitely noted some improvement in bank reconciliation, federal reporting, and we saw a lot of improvement. I know that was a big issue a couple of years ago, so we're definitely pleased there. If we flip to the next page here, we always kind of put this in here. Really with the financial statements, we're really dealing with two different sets of financial statements. We have our fund statements, which are kind of what you look at all year, very short-term focus, cash basis basically, current resources, and then we have our government-wide statements, which are long-term focus. We're putting things like long-term liabilities in there, you know, pension liabilities. Instead of writing off capital purchases, we depreciate them over a period of time. And then on pages 17 and 19, we kind of reconcile the two and show what the differences are. If we flip to the next page here, these are our government-wide kind of key figures. We usually just summarize them on one page. So this is kind of a long-term focus. So because it's long-term, we show a few more extra years than we usually do. We show 5 years so you can get kind of the trend. If we look at this first chart, that's our change in net position, you know, profit or loss. I think some people notice that. You can see kind of a little bit of a wild ride. Big spike in 2022, and that's when all the renovation contributions were coming in. You know, slight decline in 2023, and then down to 2024, we have an increase in net position of about 3.6 million. It's probably going to continue to decline a little bit now that you know, all that's wrapped up, and you probably, I would guess, see figures more comparable to like 20 or 2019, I don't know, it's that far back, but it's going to kind of, you know, continue that trend. If we look a chart over, we see total assets and deferred outflows. Basically, what you're seeing here is all of those revenues from the previous chart being converted into capital assets, basically. So it's going to kind of peak, you know, right here at that 45.8 million, and then over time it's going to go down as we depreciate the buildings. So that's going to, you know, gradual downward trend, basically. Then our final one is our total liabilities, which really has been pretty similar over the last 5 years. That tends to track the pension liability. So basically, however the pension does, you know, the books reflect that. A little different than most schools in this situation. Obviously, kind of unique here. Usually, when you see this much capital investment in construction, you also see a spike with debt. You're usually issuing bonds. In this case, you don't have that, obviously, with other schools, you know, funding, you know, per school. So you don't really see much change in total liabilities. I wouldn't expect that to change a whole lot, you know, in the future. Flip to the next page here. We're going to switch back to basically the fund statement. So, you know, short-term focus, kind of with, you know, most of the schools are interested in seeing when we do these. So we're looking at total assets for governmental funds. So that's basically general fund plus capital projects. So we show these two pie charts. The composition's basically, you know, pretty similar compared to 2023. It's going to look similar most years. It's usually, you know, cash investments, short-term receivables, you know, things like that. Overall, total assets are down about 2.6 million, which you expect that as, you know, the project wraps up. There were still expenses this year. Overall, that brings us to about 7.6 million in total assets. So if we flip to the next page here, this would be our total revenues, and this is for governmental funds. So again, general fund and capital projects. Capital projects doesn't have much in terms of revenue, mainly, you know, interest that gets kind of thrown in here. Similar composition, but we do see some changes, you know, from the prior year. One is the schools taking up you know, a smaller percentage of total revenue, which is kind of tied to all the renovation contributions. That'll probably go down a little bit more next year. We see the state taking up a larger share this year. State funding was up. I think this year is about 2.1 million, which was, you know, higher than, you know, historically. Local was, you know, relatively similar. Federal, you see that continued decline the next page here, this will be our total expenses for general fund. We kind of show a comparison of both years, you know, percentage of total expenses and then also just total expenses. Overall, they were only up about 50,000, so that's, you know, basically pretty similar to last year. I think it's like less than a 1% difference. You see instruction for both vocational and special programs was up about 100,000. Generally, that's good, you know, as instructional spending, you know, upward trend. Adult instruction was down this year, but I know that one fluctuates a lot year to year, so that's not necessarily out of the norm. Facilities expense was down a little bit this year, but I think in the prior year we had some grants that we picked up, you know, facilities expense for that had to be kept in general fund, so that was kind of, you know, the difference there. And if we flip to the final page, this is our comparison of expenses where we look at budget to actual for a general fund. And overall, this is pretty close compared to some of the other ones we've seen, you know. So it is a bit of a crystal ball, like trying to, obviously putting budget together isn't an easy task. Not really a ton of major variance. I think overall it's like less than 50,000 in total. A little bit of variance in operation things that planned, but overall, you know, pretty close to budgeted, you know, percentage-wise and dollar-wise. So, yeah. Any questions?
I imagine next year we're gonna have quite a bit more expenses on our personnel, add quite a few personnel people for staff, and so we'll probably see in the budget.
Yeah.
This is last 2 years, not this year.
Yeah, so on top will be what was budgeted for 2024, and then below that, kind of large red would be what actually, you know, how it actually played out.
Like, but remember what we did here next year. That's all thing, my comment. I think we have a lot more, what for staff costs next year, liability. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question now.
Was the 200,000 over budget operations and red mix, was that an anomaly or was there something wrong with that?
I'd have to, maybe Jessica knows, but I mean, occasionally there's, you know, maintenance and repair items that get thrown in there that, you know, could lead to a little bit of variance and, you know, things like that. But specifically, I'm not sure exactly what, you know, caused the variance. And then sometimes it's just things don't play out like, you know, you thought they were, I guess. So.
Yeah, so it's just expenses that we didn't know they were coming, so they were not budgeted for, and we had to pay for repairs or anything, so then it comes thrown into those maintenance accounts.
Maybe we could budget for the remodeling of the cosmetology and all of stuff like that.
I think most of that probably was in the capital
Yeah,
projects.
that comes out of the renovation, all that
Came out of the
renovation.
Okay, come on, all right.
It was about 300,000, 250,000. The county earmarked 250,000 like that.
Money around.
So as auditors, what do you guys do like with the capital projects? You obviously look at that. That's not in those graphs. It's in the bigger document.
Yeah, so, probably flip to the page here.
What you just went over, that's just basically general fund.
General fund, yeah. So for capital projects, we have about 5.79 million, in facilities expense. About 198,000 in revenue,
What
that's
page
all.
you on? What page?
18, sorry. Yeah, it's kind of confusing, it's like 50 some pages. Gotta find the right one. So if you go to page 18, that kind of combines the governmental funds. So the first column there would be your general fund. that same expense, line item, because they're basically considered, building improvements, construction, things like that. So overall, you got a decline in fund balance there of about 2.8 million. That's, the renovation contributions being split down basically.
So as of June 30th, though, you had just a little over 3 million left
Yeah, 3 million in
in
fund
the
balance.
capital projects.
There's a balance sheet too, if you flip back, it's actually 2 pages. Where we show, the asset and liability side. So there's a little bit of AP in there. A few other items, but mainly just cash of 3.2 million.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. It's good seeing everyone.
You're welcome to stay, too. You don't have to.
I appreciate it all. Good.
All right. Let's turn over to the foundation meeting. Knock that one out if you want to. Call that one to order.
White Star, election.
For a foundation meeting. How do we do that in the past?
I think foundation can, because it's,
Yeah, foundation,
Right.
you don't have the office, it's a different election.
All right, I'll call this meeting to order. All right. New district appointed, committee members. There's 3 of them.
What was that?
You appointed, zoom up on
Yes.
that.
They're there.
Oops.
John McLean, everybody was reappointed.
Why is that not?
Okay.
Dr. Wise, Mr. Ring, Mr. Gilbert, Mr. Morvay were all reappointed.
Somehow I ran unopposed.
I think they all were.
Yeah.
All right. Motion to accept the district reappointed committee members. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Roll call vote.
Mr. McManus. Mr. Fortin.
Here.
Dr. Wise. Mr. O'Scanning.
Present.
Ms. Brink. Here. Mr. Koblenz. Mr. Lindner.
Present.
Mr. Boyd.
Here.
Mr. Ring.
Here.
Mr. Gilbert.
Here?
Mr. Morvay.
Here.
All right, president election. Do I make a motion to open the floor?
Before we do that, who are our different officers for the foundation? Obviously, you're the president. Who's the vice president?
Gilbert.
Gilbert. That's all we're doing tonight, right?
That's what we're here.
Yes.
I would move to keep the officers the same for this next year.
I second that. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries, so we can skip D and E next year.
Steve likes to just unopposed.
Thank you, everyone. Steve, thanks you as well. Yeah. They both filled in, they did a good job. All right. Amendments to 3 meeting minutes. All right. Should we move those over? Any questions, concerns, comments? All right, a motion to approve the September 26th meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. For new business, gift for kids. Jessica, do you want to speak on this? It's just a motion.
This is for every year we get gift cards for, Christmas gift cards for our students in need. And usually the foundation will just match, what we get, right, Matt?
What the staff
What the
donates.
staff donates,
Not to exceed 1,000.
not to exceed $1,000. I think last year was like $700.
700.
Yeah.
As of 2:30 today, the staff had donated $925, so I anticipate a match of $1,000.
So we'll match. That's good.
Yeah.
Good job.
It's a good problem to have.
Nice.
And those gift cards will be distributed to students this Thursday.
Thursday before Christmas. Yes, motion to approve. Second.
Second, Dennis Gillespie.
Dennis. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I just wanted to comment, I was worried about this, making it, what they, give gift cards, I guess you can give that just in time.
All right, financial reports, Jessica.
Okay, so as of November 30th, 2024, our cash on hand is $30,460.45. And as of September 30th, 2024, the Erie Community Foundation balance is $308,968.43.
Cash on hand, did you say we have?
We have $30,460 because we drew down the $18,000 that were approved for
Spending.
the spending for the diggers and dumpers and all that.
Yeah. And what kind of interest are we getting on that? That might really have any, just general interest?
On the cash on hand.
Yeah,
I believe it's 4.3%.
okay.
That's what we
That's
get.
good, that's good. I was hoping it wasn't like buying a checking account, 0.001% or something like that. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions?
That, Career Street account that's down there, -500, is that still?
I know, it's just like I printed the detail and it comes up, like we don't use that account there. So it just stays that
You don't
entry.
even actually have that account
Right.
anymore.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's something we said
Yeah.
before my time.
It made these meetings really long.
Oh, they did, absolutely.
Can I ask a question about the -500? Like, we don't use that account anymore, but it's that -500 just in the.
But it has a balance, yeah, it has a balance.
So it had to come out, probably because that account closed. At the time we had transferred that money to United Way? Is that who it went to?
I thought you needed cash.
GCAC, yeah, I think that's right, yeah. So we did that, and then we transferred a balance, probably, that was before your time.
Yeah,
Right.
It's 4 or 5 years ago.
Wonder if we can look at just getting rid of that line,
yeah. Okay,
because that -500, it's gonna, because it's in QuickBooks there, it's gonna take it out of one of the other accounts, it's, I don't know if you can look back at any history and see why it's a -500.
yeah, I can check that.
All right. Any other questions? All right, motion to approve the financial reports. Second.
Second, Gilbert.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Number 7, adjournment. Motion to adjourn. Second.
Second, Dennis Gillespie.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion carries. Next meeting, March 27th.
All right. And for now, we'll get to the regular meeting, we'll start the committee meeting for that, for our regular meeting. Running down through the agenda of the regular JOC meeting. Get to the right one. This right one. We see today's reorganization, so we'll elect a chair and a vice chair. You have your minutes under student accomplishments. We have several things listed there. Got it up, Mike? Yeah.
That's up. What would you like up?
We have our Rotary Interact Club, ECTS Elf on the Shelf is another thing that's been popular again. Officer Yady does a little thing with each lab and they have fun with it. And it gets some traction in social media and that kind of stuff. Community service, what's that? They did it last year too. Yeah, we'll see a flyer there. Community service highlights, we had, and I'll highlight that in my leadership report, we had, obviously Rotary was doing a service project. We reached out to County EMA with the snow, and they had a lot of disabled, elderly and disabled people that were snowed in. We sent a couple crews out one day to go shovel people out. They had, the kids really enjoyed it, the staff really enjoyed it. Giving back to the community, it was a great thing. And then students' months are there. If you want to just open up the Eagle Eye Elf thing there, got some pictures of the different labs and the elf on the shelf there, doing the different things in all the labs and having some fun. Kids really enjoy that. Definitely brings in the spirit of Christmas. Under important items coming to ECTS, we have a list of several dates in there. End of quarter 2, a couple other things in there. Now quarter 2 was moved back 2 days with the 2 days that we canceled. A couple items to highlight there. Countywide active assailant drill we're hosting on February 14th, our in-service day with the county EMA and state police and so forth. We got our OAC meeting and dinner for spring. Even though it's spring, it's February there, February 13th coming up. And of course, February is CTE month, so everyone's kind of got those dates on there. Under that same important items, the makeup days. I attached our school calendar on there. We had 3 snow days built into our calendar, February 17th, March 14th, and March 17th. And so after talking with the superintendents and seeing when they're all making up days or not making up days, GM, they don't make up days. They do the flexible instruction days. But we are going to make our 2 makeup days 2/17 and 3/17. So President's Day and then March 17th will be the 2 days that we are in session now that we were not in session before. That leaves us 3/14 still as one more day if we get Snowmageddon Part 3 coming through Erie in the next couple months. And I have the original calendar on there for everyone to review. Any questions on snow makeup days?
Matt, the new rules, whatever the state passed for however many hours of instructions, are we close to those hours? I mean, if we did have, let's say 3 more, is that something that we can work through or not? Like, I know a lot of the districts aren't making up days because of that.
Correct. We had our superintendent meeting Friday with the IU. That's why I kind of waited to see what happened with that meeting, to kind of declare our days. We had that discussion. We met with PDE. We talked about all those things, the 990, the 900, all that kind of stuff. We're fine on our end of things, but with 11 districts and 11 of them doing it all differently,
Right.
if we don't make up days, we kind of leave somebody hanging typically. What I did was collect from the superintendents all of their makeup days and what their plan was. And basically 2/17 was a day I didn't want to schedule, but we had 6 of our 11 districts in on 2/17, I think it was, if I recall correctly. And same thing with 3/17, there was then, 7 of our 11 districts are in on 3/17. So we kind of, that's why we picked those days. And then I picked those days as well to keep 3/14 as a backup, because we do 3/14 and 3/17, and we don't, something happens March 5th with the snowstorm, we don't have another day built in to the schedule. We're adding days there to the calendar that we approved. So that's kind of where we're at. With 11 districts, we got 180 days of student instructional time with our teachers' contract. We're going to be open and they can send the students, right? That's kind of how I look at it. In the past, we really never canceled.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I look at Sandy, because Sandy's always the resident historian. We're like, yeah, she's like, I think I can count on one hand in 28 years the number of times we couldn't cancel. And 2 of those were that week, that first week of December. So teacher contract.
Yeah, teachers want to pay all the
Yeah.
candidates, cafeteria people, and so they said, well, we'll make up the dates, just because of the, then they say, oh, we don't have to make up the dates, and they say, well, teachers have, they owe us 3 days, so they had, we don't care about the other people that are on hourly rate, they suffer, so this way, they can at least get their little bit of cash later. Some people are working on a shoestring budget, 3 days might.
Yeah.
Doesn't help.
Right. So
One of our member districts talked about that a lot, with the fact that they were kind of out the whole week. And right before Christmas, and people were running short on funds, and paychecks they were counting on, that kind of stuff. That's a tough situation to have.
Cancel any more days, Sandy might have to think about working another year.
I don't think so.
Trust me, we have tried a lot of.
I thought she was anyway. Working doing
Get her
something.
to stay around.
She's probably working doing something.
Okay, so then when you get into new business, you have the audit approval, you have field trips, there's quite a few listed there. Several of them we're getting them approved, and they're kind of to be determined as the companies work with the teacher to kind of set days that would be good in the next couple of months.
Are you comfortable with, like, Metal Fab has a lot?
They do. They do. We want them to go a lot. We encourage them, all of our programs, we say take 1 trip a month, 1 to 2 trips a month. Get them out, get them in the industries, get them shaking hands, kissing babies with the people that are working in the field, to learn what's going on in industry. We fund that through our Perkins grant, that industry exposure and connectivity for those trips and so forth. They won't go on all those, most likely. They'll probably do about 70% of those. But a lot of times when you're taking 24 or 48 kids into a factory, an industry, a manufacturer, it interrupts their progress, right? They look at, there's a window, hey, we could really have you next week, we have to slow down, something's going on, we can get you out here in 2 weeks, and that's really what, he said, he kind of gets it approved, so we're good to go, and then, we gotta get a bus, and we gotta go, and usually have a week to 10 days advance notice for those. One of the things that has been a past history problem with field trips is everybody wants to do them in April and May. And there's shortage of bus drivers, and all your districts do a lot of field trips in April and May. And we do a lot of field trips, and there's a shortage of drivers, and then we can't even get them in. So that's why we push 1 to 2 field trips kind of every month throughout the year, because you really don't go in September, and we're trying to avoid May. So it really ends up being 6 to 10 field trips over the next 6 or 7 months, I guess it is. Okay. Next up is the JOC meeting dates, and I have put together the motion to do what we've always done in the past, but I want to talk to you about maybe doing some things differently. If you pull up the dates, Mike, if you don't mind.
Nope, not at all.
So this meeting, December, is the first one I want to tackle. One of the other, I've heard it on a couple other CTEs, actually have held a one-time-a-year breakfast meeting for the JOC, where they met in the morning. So you as a group could come in, and we could serve breakfast instead of dinner, and we could do our meeting, and then you could actually go around and see the programs in actions, the students in actions, and get a tour of the building when it's live and running. I like it because it's December and it's busy and there's a lot of things going on in evenings, nights, and so forth for everybody. Thought it might be a good idea to do if you guys were open to that.
And this is a reorganization meeting. I don't think we should do it then. We're doing ours, George School District is actually going on in January at 1 o'clock for our history, at this high school, we're inviting all the students to participate in the meeting, and that's at 1 o'clock, but that's my opinion. Since this is supposed to be the reorganization meeting, I think that if somebody can't make it, I don't want to
nice.
Right,
The reorganization meeting takes what, 5 minutes?
This is typically a lighter agenda, not a terrible month of agenda. We meet again in January, we met in October. I was throwing it out there on the second side of things then, is that we have 99 members of our board, right? Each one of your district board members are part of our board, and you guys are the operating committee of that board. And I'd like to do a meeting where we invite all 99 in at some point and serve a meal, have a breakfast, and let them see what's going on as well. So that was the other side of that coin, was making that the meeting that we open it up to all 99 board members to come in, have a breakfast, and we can move it off in December if we don't like reorganization. We were kind of looking at December, maybe February, something in the winter months, just because sometimes it's a little slower for the most part than the summer or fall and nice weather spring months. But we were throwing around that Board of 99 meeting, having everybody in, kind of get the State of the Union address, see the thing in action, visit some labs, walk through, and kind of like we do with the student tours, where we put them into groups of so-and-so, and they hit lab, and around with a student ambassador leading the tour and talking about what happens in the programs and so forth. I know not all 99 is going to come. I know people go to work, and I know they're busy, and it's morning and whatever. But to sneak out for a breakfast meeting and then, kind of get to work at 10, a lot of people can then make up the day and not feel like it was.
We go back to work?
Yeah.
Steve's already put half a day in by that time.
Right, we have to be here at 3 in the morning.
There we go.
I like
Yeah,
the
that's what I
idea.
eat breakfast.
I mean, either a lunch or a breakfast, we could do either one. We could do a luncheon and do the
Well,
afternoon.
I'm willing to be here 6 o'clock in the morning, but I don't know if anybody else is.
Who said 6?
Me.
Did you say 6? Yeah. I'm not a bed by 6.
School board.
I like the idea. I like the idea of both of those, both the 99 and having a meeting. How is everybody's working? I mean, is that doable once a year?
I like it too. I like it in December because we're gonna try to get board member, JOC members on. So if we're gonna show them what happens here, that's the prime time to do it. First meeting that you're in, here's what you're joining on.
And we could do it in January too. I mean, I'm not tied to December. I just was tied December. I mean, I don't know what you guys are. There's just like a lot of evenings.
every night there's something.
Every night there's
One of my
something.
nights,
Yeah.
I come in the morning,
Yes.
Personally, I prefer December because I have a dual enrollment student and she goes to school in the morning, so I have to take her to school because the bus doesn't come get her.
I like December too, except I'm a little leery just because the audit report couldn't be, I think you'd have to really trim down any extras that we don't meet in November. So now you've got from October now until January before you've got a regular meeting. That would be my only.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I just thought December because then you could have like that nice holiday
Yeah,
eat,
right.
bringing everybody in.
Yeah.
But originally we were thinking February, kind of you're in mid-year, your State of the Union address that we do, like with that February, OAC meetings. It's the same thing. Here's what we got going on. Here's where we're at. Summary reports. Here's where we're going. Here's some of the things we're talking about. And thanks for coming. Type scenario. We weren't looking to make it a long. We serve a breakfast. Then you get to see hospitality do all the service. We wanted to have that whole experience as well. Culinary, of course, will prep the meal and everything. But we were going to put them like in full action.
Yeah.
Serving, doing that whole ball game of the breakfast.
If you did a breakfast and then did your reorganization meeting and hit what you had to get done. And then if people had to leave, then they could. If people can stay, then you
Yeah,
can
they
do
would-
more of your tour.
Yeah, during breakfast, we could do the State of the Union. They wouldn't really need to then do the meeting, but they're welcome to stay type scenario, yeah.
We have the foundation meeting on that. Plus, that's the reason I don't like that, because there could be, this whole staff, everybody here on changes. This election year coming up this year. So I will be here probably, because I have to run for re-election, I don't plan on it. So that's when, and if even there
So
talking
let's-
about the 99 for December?
I was talking about the 99 with the breakfast. I thought that would be kind of a neat thing.
I don't know that I would do that in December. That, just because, I'm just trying, if I ask my board to come to anything in December, even a breakfast, it's just another thing, I'm afraid. I like that idea.
It's an open invite though, it's not like there's something they have to come to.
They're welcome every time. I attend every meeting. I'm glad to say we're having a meeting, please attend if you're available. And
So let's
I
jump to
haven't
the
had
other
any
month we
attend-
were really strongly considering, was February.
Can we split the two?
That's what, can we do
Why don't you do
breakfast
two
in
breakfasts?
December?
You do the December breakfast just for us, and then you do the other one. Hey, I'm good with morning meetings.
I guarantee everyone
I'm
over
good with
there,
morning.
everyone over there would be good with morning meetings and one last evening as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you guys okay
I'm
with
open
that?
at 6 o'clock in the morning, but nobody believes like that
Whoever
now.
comes on the board,
Steve, me, like, we're the only ones
we're
like
setting
6
the meetings
o'clock
for
in the morning.
next year anyway, whether they've been elected or
How
not.
about if we do a morning meeting in December and then a lunch meeting in February?
See, I
So we could do
I
that?
think lunch would be easier to get our other board members.
Right, that's what I'm thinking too.
Oh,
I think.
I think I would have like 0 participation anytime, because I invite them every time and I haven't seen
Well,
them.
stop inviting them.
Stop inviting,
Maybe
tell
they'll
them not
come.
to
They're
come.
They're not.
You're no longer
Then
welcome,
go to
see what
districts that
happens.
they can't come.
All right,
I don't think that
what's
helps.
that?
They're holding out.
Going out.
I tell them to get a meal anyways.
Okay. So, I think we're in consensus that December we'll have a breakfast meeting and try that for the board meeting. And then in February, we could do a lunch meeting and try to do the board of 99. Be honest with you, the lunch is easier for 99 because the teachers and the students have all morning to prep.
Exactly.
Well, that's, yeah.
So,
They had to prepare, breakfast they had to prepare the day before.
Are you gonna want some kind of RSVPs for that?
Yes.
yeah, we'll push out RSVPs. I am fully prepared, we wanted to do it this year, so I would love to do it on February 22nd. To do a lunch meeting,
I'm
and a board of 99.
Anytime.
We will even open it up to, you know, if they can't come, they could zoom in to that little State of the Union address.
Great.
And that way,
All we do is try it. If it
Yeah.
doesn't work, we don't.
but I think it's a way to rope in more people into what's going on and see it and get a chance to tour it, especially with after the renovation. All right, so
Can we get superintendents here
I was
too?
gonna say, can we get the
we
superintendent there?
absolutely can invite the superintendents to that meeting as well.
Make it
They
mandatory?
have 2 meetings.
Make it mandatory.
Who would miss it? I know.
What, they have their meeting with the superintendent meeting.
It is,
We have 2 a month, one's with Matt and one's at the IU.
yeah, we are the first Friday of the month, so
Still.
the following, you know, March 6th, whatever, 7th, whatever that Friday is, I think it's 7th, would be our meeting. But we have a lot of things to discuss that we're not gonna discuss
I know that.
with 99 members there, but not that it's that much.
The JOC a couple years ago had a lot of conversation. I'm trying to remember if it was before or after the change, when we changed a lot of members. But we had quite a few conversations about trying to include and understand where the superintendents are coming from. We talked about having some kind of a picnic with them.
Yeah.
Board meeting,
Some joint
Before
meetings.
the
So-
big turnover.
Yeah,
Was
that's,
that before? So
Yeah,
I
that
think
never
something like this, where if we could get even 6 or 7 of them in the room with us, I think it'd be great to, just to meet them and be able to
All right.
bring things forward.
Thank you
yeah, and
for,
especially since I think of, I know we got a new superintendent, but didn't like 2 other districts get a new
Barry,
superintendent?
but he was out here, Barry was out here at our open house.
yeah,
Every 6
we've
months.
had quite a few superintendents.
Cause I mean, we haven't,
Hold
I
the
don't
meeting.
think I've ever met Mill Creek's superintendent, the new superintendent.
We'll be here at that time of the meeting.
Okay. I
We've
would
been,
say.
we've been changing quickly lately. I think John's good.
I've actually heard the reports about it.
Is February a month that, agenda-wise, if you look at the past, is there anything
Budget
we always do?
Budget,
Is
we're
that,
looking at budget.
yeah, but that doesn't usually, when's the presentation? January, though, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're okay with January's presentation. February, everybody would have looked at it,
Right.
and so we'll, that's not a hard
And
forward.
with February being so short, it comes quickly,
Right.
right? Because we're January 23rd, and then it's literally, it seems like it's pretty quick into February there, so, okay. So then when we get to this page, we're gonna do February 27th as a noon work session with lunch at noon. And we'll make it kind of simultaneous with the board meeting to follow. And then December 16th, we'll do an 8:30 a.m. work session with breakfast.
8:30.
You wanna go earlier?
No, I want to go later.
What time do students arrive?
8:00.
That's why we're going 8:30.
So let them get in the building.
Okay.
Can we give them an hour?
No, come on.
Again, it's a work session, if you're a little late, Terry, we'll hold up,
That's
hold
called
up. Made to order breakfast omelets will still be ready to go there. And we did that with the superintendents last year, the made to order breakfast omelets, and the kids and their chefs, it was awesome, the kids loved it, I mean, they loved to show their skills, it was really great. It's really good, yeah, so I think you guys will enjoy that. All right, wonderful, thank you guys for that discussion, and
So you can put the dates and times on these?
yeah, we will make a correction in the minutes. We'll make the correction, and we'll get out a news and so everyone has it. Make sure everyone's aware.
What's the August 14th on the second Tuesday?
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. So I kept the same pattern of meetings except for August. As we well know, we're the fourth Thursday of August. August 28th, at the start of school, would be our normal meeting. We got new student orientation, we got teacher in-service days. It's,
I think it's a good idea.
How many school districts?
it's busy, and it's busy for everyone, because you guys have kids in orientations and football and pep rallies and everything else.
That's always
So,
a problem.
My district is gonna meet that night, so I think that's gonna be our voting meeting night.
We're scheduled.
you're scheduled that night too.
Yeah.
I'm glad you caught that. I apologize that I missed
I
it.
mean, it's.
So we were looking to move it up 2 weeks, to try to, not hit that busyness of that first opening week of school. So let me ask you about the third Tuesday of August. So the third Tuesday, kind of like we do in December, the third Tuesday of August would be August 19th.
That one I wouldn't have a problem with. Does anybody have Tuesday nights?
I don't know who's
Third week?
Tuesday nights. I don't.
I don't think anybody's.
I'm guessing, well, see, this is the third Tuesday.
Yeah.
And it's usually in December, so I don't know if anybody always has it, but I know December meetings can get
They're all
changed.
changed because of.
General Clay, you guys don't have a meeting tonight because you're sitting here.
Right.
Fairview
They're good at meeting.
Fairview's Mondays.
and
We're Thursday.
We're always Monday.
Iroquois, we're missing Iroquois.
We're not always Mondays. But
Normally.
mostly, but our business,
They would have a meeting on Thursday?
our.
Is it the third Tuesday though?
Can we get by with another lunch meeting?
Was it yesterday? So, next call we go?
Or breakfast?
No.
That would have to do all the cooking.
I'll do omelets, it's fine.
Omelet cereal.
I can use my George Foreman. I got a portable flash.
Oh, sausage.
So I'm ready to go.
Okay, wait.
I'm bored for lunch.
Pretty soon we're gonna have a different meeting every week. Lunch. Just lunch, breakfast, dinner. You know, which Tuesday, which Thursday, Wednesday.
August.
Well, if you do lunch on Thursday, instead, everybody can make it, right?
Yeah, on
On the
summer
regular-
afternoon?
Yeah.
Sure.
So August 14th would be a noon meeting as well, a lunch meeting again.
There we go.
Everybody okay with that?
All right.
Jeez.
I'm down.
I'll be up.
Dennis is not gonna be able to keep track.
No way.
Misty, we're gonna have you send
I was gonna say,
special
you need to send special mass text.
invites and invites and flyers to Dennis to let him know, come for lunch. We're
No,
gonna
I-
feed you, Dennis, every time.
I look at the agenda, so I know what it is.
Here we go. All right, so we're
We're
good
sticking
with
with
August
August
14th. We're going to do another noon lunch meeting on August 14th. Okay, that's a lot going on there.
I can't predict that far ahead. I want to go to Florida.
You guys Florida in August?
could go to Florida any day I want and retire.
It's hot.
All right.
Zoom in, baby. Zoom in.
Well, thank you for those discussions. It'll be an interesting year. We'll try a couple new things there, so. As we get down to the business office reports, financial reports and so forth, nothing special there to highlight. Under administrative services and HR, we have some policies. Lots of policies continue to be reviewed and updated. And then we have the hirings and transfers. The big ones under hiring are Jeff Zelfro moving from the THM instructor to the cooperative education coordinator. I think that's going to be a great scenario for us. We've been doing interviews with THM. Haven't quite found anybody yet, so we're going to continue to interview and see where we're at. At this point, I know Kat's not here because her granddaughter is performing tonight, both granddaughters in a pageant, and then Lisa's not here because her son's got a wrestling meet tonight, and so we said excuse them. I think we're up to about 14 applicants for THM, and we've invited 11 in for interviews that were qualified. Not everyone showed up, but we've had some good ones. We've actually had some we could hire. We just haven't found the right fit just yet, so we're still looking there. But it doesn't mean it's a different problem than we had like with computer networking where we didn't have anybody. Yes. We got some people that can fill that position. We have one that's going to be graduating with her bachelor degree in May, who is really a rock star, one of our former students. So we'll see where we go with those interviews and see who we can get to qualify for that.
Was Jeff able to help with some of that?
He has been in every interview, yes. Yes.
Is he kind of doing both positions for a little bit?
Yes, so what we did, Rob McCabe was our long-term sub over in the TRC program with the maternity leave of Ashley Dawson. Rob was a former principal out at Iroquois, and then he went to the private sector, and then he retired, and then, through a mutual buddy, I found out he was available, and we called him like 2 days before school and said, you want to fill in as a teacher? So he did. So that ended when she came back. October 31st is when she came back. So then he's filled in as cooperative education teacher ever since, and he's got principal cert and all that good stuff. So it was an easy emergency permit process to kind of cover it. So he's still going with us as Jeff is learning a position and covering THM, and then we're using a series of subs to cover THM with Jeff kind of like overseeing planning things and directing traffic, but then he's going to kind of 50-50 with the co-op and THM. And actually that's how we're doing it in budget as well. So we kind of got subs on both sides supporting and so forth till we get someone in place. So we were hoping to have someone in place in early January and kind of kick off the second semester really fast. We haven't quite got that person in place yet. So that's the big one. A couple aides are now to the point where they're out of their probationary period and hired full-time. And then the computer networking instructor is another big one. So Daniel Cass is a 2014, that's not right, 2010 grad of us from ECTS. He was IT running it for the county as the IT kind of administrator for the county. And he has come back to us, and we're pretty excited about him. So he's been in industry for 14 years, and after being an alumni with us, has come back to be our teacher. So we're really excited about Daniel. He's a nice young man that's got a young family, and he really is jumping in and really excited about the opportunity to be a teacher with us and starting his classes right away and all that good stuff. Am I missing anything there, Julie?
That's about it.
No? Yeah, so still have a couple custodian positions opening. We had a couple that kind of left us there with when the weather happened, they didn't want to come in and so forth, and some of the part-time custodians. So we still are filling those positions. Still looking at secretary positions as well, and we'll be bringing job descriptions that we're working to redefine for in January to approval for that extra position that we were going to add as well. And then, the other filling, Renee Heverly, who's retiring, So that's all in process as well in HR. So there's your retirements and resignations, so you can see kind of, we had one part-time custodian. The other one's a great young man who's an alumni who actually got into the Carpenters Union, so we were pretty excited for him. It was just graduated a couple years for us. Ethan there, he then got into the Carpenters Union. So he's still going to be a sub for us, and he's just a nice young man that's graduated from us 2 years ago. I think that's it. We don't have anything under stipends. And then the leadership report, I got a lot of information there. So we'll go quickly through the first one, the community expansion survey. Mike, if you start there. So we had pushed out that survey. I shared it last meeting of the student survey on expansion. And then here's the expansion survey we pushed out through community OAC meeting on our Facebook and through some teacher channels. We sent it out through our teachers. Go ahead and scroll down, Mike. So we had 214 responses as of November 20th. I know that's a little bit dated, but that's when I summarized it all for our superintendent meeting. And basically, you can see the top three, and I'm going to pull it up because I can't read it that
Yeah, a little
close.
bigger.
The top three on the question of which you think is the top workforce need in the region. Number one was future educator, number two was heavy equipment, and number three was recreational equipment and small engine repair, based on community response there. The second question is what do you think students would pick? And number one was aviation, drones, in aerospace science. Number two was veterinary technician, and number three, actually I have that backwards. Vet tech was number one, sorry. Aviation was number two, and heavy equipment was number three there. And then on the question of what do you think has the greatest career opportunities, future employment, heavy equipment repair and operation was number one, tied with future educator as well. And then we had aviation, drones, and aerospace science. So that data just kind of confirmed where we were at after the student summary, that drones and aviation, I don't see us having a separate program for that, but we wrote the PA Smart Grant to bring that in to all of our classrooms across the board. Heavy equipment operation, of course, we've been talking about a little bit. We're recommending that to be our next program to open. And then third there was veterinary sciences. And the one caveat I always say with veterinary sciences, it's not because vet tech is a great opportunity and career, but it's because the agricultural industry in Erie County, with raising animals from big to small, pigs to whatever, those are the kids that we would be looking at, why we would open a program like that.
If
So that's
future
kind of-
educator got the most employment opportunity, which I believe everyone at this table knows that
Yeah, but the
That's a need, correct.
that's a big need.
And a few of our superintendents, really want to run that, program. We talked about it, but we weren't in unison of opening that program. Now that program, if we did open, we would model it after, we've looked at a couple of those programs around the state and other career and tech ed places. And I know Central Westmoreland, they jumped on it and opened it real quick. It's like a satellite program the way they run it, and that's how we would want to run it, where it's not housed here. It's housed in one of the member districts, whether we do two programs, one on the east side, one on the west side, or however we want to do that. But to me, it's like, okay, we would need one classroom space, and ideally I would say a middle school would probably be the best place for it. So where kids go there, they get the foundational instruction on, adolescent development and early childhood and education, that kind of stuff. And then they would be working and pushing into the classrooms as their lab, kind of under the supervision of that teacher, where maybe they work as a tutorial program with all the study hall kids and so forth.
You already have that with early childhood already. We technically do have that, but we could have that as preliminary and then develop into more education.
So to me, it would be a different focus. You'd have the early childhood we have here, continually going on. To me, this would be like middle school, high school, special ed. Those would be the kind of the core of what we would recruit into that program, the future educator. Like, hey, we want the middle school, high school
Because
people that
that's
are
really
interested
where
in education.
we're lacking, I mean, that's where our we're lacking, middle school, or junior high, high school for
Yeah.
us.
Across the board, yeah, there's a teacher shortage pretty much across the board.
Right.
So, yeah, so it's a little easier in elementary, and maybe I should let you speak to this more than me. Just because elementary certification, they can kind of teach it all, right, typically. Whereas when you hit the 7 to 12, now you're hitting where you're a math teacher and you're only a math teacher. And you're an English teacher and you're only, and science is even the worst. Where, hey, you got science, yeah, you can't teach chemistry, bio, and physics. You have to have an individual cert for chemistry, bio, and
Like
physics.
STEM teacher, that was the.
You can absolutely do every one of those things, all you gotta do is test it. Because our teachers have tested in multiple things now. You just take the test and you can teach. My daughter's actually did that in Florida, she can do math teaching, because she took the test and passed the test.
Take
She's
praxis.
she's a earth science teacher, when she went to Edinburgh for. But you can do that, but you got to be able to.
I mean, you can.
You have to have the knowledge of passing.
My son's going
Right.
to school to be a history teacher. He's a history major with political science minor. I mean, so he will be a history teacher because that's the reason he went to college. He wanted to be a history teacher. If he wanted to be an English teacher, he would probably take more English classes, or a math teacher.
You don't have to.
But what I'm saying is he didn't want to be a math teacher. He went to school to be a history teacher.
Yeah, you can't quite do that the same way across the board anymore. They kind of opened that up a little bit for a little bit,
Depends on
but
what
it's
you
closed
take in
down.
college.
You still, it depends on what you take in college. You have to have X amount of
You
credits
have
in
to
order
have, that's
to
what I'm
be able
saying.
to even test for the praxis in English or whatnot.
That's what I was trying to say. You can't just be an English teacher with a history degree. You can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna be an English teacher now.
Now, if you took enough
You have to.
literature
take it-
classes
yeah.
going up to it,
You have to
there's a
take,
chance
you have to have enough credits for that.
So what you're looking for the teacher part, because really your early childhood does help with your preschool, and it really does give a foundation even for elementary. You're talking more middle, high school, and then
Yeah.
special ed would be the focus
That
of
would be focused on
this new program in the future.
if we were to do something with that. And we do have several superintendents very interested, but again, we'll get to that as we continue down through my report of where we're going with renovation. So now jump to my,
The main reason we aren't gonna get no teachers is the financial situation. They can't even pay their school tuition, they can't even pay back their loans. Or what
So-
the wages.
Mike, if you jump to my report, actual report then,
That's
and then we'll go to the budget
That's where we have higher.
estimations that I used, that I gave the superintendents at their request that I've been here for you guys. Recruiting and ninth grade tours and all that stuff happened there in November. We were, a week ago, looking at 300 and some, 302 and then 322 within a day applications. The good news is, we're at 659 completed applications when I opened it up just now and looked. Yes, so it was an anomaly of Schoolmint turning over to a new platform, as well as I think everybody kind of says, okay, I can get that done after Thanksgiving, and then boom, the weather, and we were a little slow getting applications in as compared to last year. But we are currently, I want it right here on the website, we are currently at 659 students. That's first choice applications that have been submitted. So that little bit of a panic that ruffled through about a week ago, we can breathe easy on it, Julie. We can relax now, 659.
Why is Firewood got an asterisk?
They don't.
For many good reasons.
Because
Why do they have an asterisk?
They're overloaded, they went too many.
Not sure why they have an asterisk.
Just guessing, they have
yeah, that's what I would guess.
too many?
You had more than last year at this time. I don't know.
Yes, as the only one that had more than they did last year at this time.
Darn.
What's that guess?
No, that's not it. I'm not sure why it has. I think it might just be that I might have bumped a key and didn't realize it before I saved it as a PDF. That's probably the case. Sorry about that.
It's probably psychological, we're really proud of it.
I already talked about our spring OAC meetings on February 15th, or 13th, excuse me. The Erie County Community College lease, we're close to really nailing that down. I know it's in the hands of Tim Sennett and Tim Wachter for finalizing. But basically what we were going to, we kind of settled on was that rent would be $15,359 per month for the first year. And it's a little over a year because we're gonna start it a little earlier if everything goes as we talked about. And then they're gonna take spaces 101, 102, 104, and then 201 to 207 on the second floor. With shared fair square footage being kind of split in half, their rent is based off 17,740 square feet of that building being charged for them in annual cost. And that's based on our annual cost to set that rent as our price per square foot for keeping that building running, just so everyone knows. Currently, they're paying about $3,700, I think it is, $3,700 in rent. So that'll be, some extra revenue generated, $144,000 a year roughly generated.
That's with us still doing the custodial and all that, or do they assume those?
So we have gone back and forth on that. Originally, one of the reasons that contract was kind of delayed was we were trying to debate on personnel, whether they hire us or they hire someone else and whatnot. And we were originally, the last variation that we did, we had built in for 10% of Frank, a full-time custodian, and then, I think, was it 0.4?
Like a part-time maintenance.
It was 0.25 or 0.4, I can't remember off the top of my head here, of a maintenance guy to then be at their disposal.
That's over and above or included in the rent?
That's over and above the rent, because that's a significant cost.
So whether they use us, they're gonna pay for it, or whether they...
So then they pulled back on that kind of in the last month to say, no, we're not gonna do that, that's too much for us, we're not gonna pay for that. We're gonna do our own, custodial and so forth. And that's kind of where we're at with this rent, with this lease. With the lease, it sets for the space, and then we can always add if we go back to and decide, hey, we want a custodian, okay? Well, here's our average cost of a custodian, and boom. That's kind of what we gave them as the cost. Here's next year's cost for Frank, and we're gonna give you 10% to have,
So it's not like
Frank
we're
being
actually making
responsible.
money on them, they're just paying costs for the services.
They're not getting any services of custodial.
If they did. we would
Correct,
really be
correct,
making that.
yeah. Well, we did mark it up with the 8% indirect cost, so we were making 8% of whatever that total cost was. Kind of as an overhead.
That's negligible,
Yeah,
because we still have to do overhead, we still have to do.
The point
there are
is,
other
this
fees,
lease
yeah.
payment of $15,359 per month does not include those services.
does not include those.
So if we add those services because they want them, then they'll be charged.
That's
If they
That's
want them,
just
that's
space
right.
for what they're taking over on space.
So this is the lease cost and it's plus plus.
So by them choosing not to use your people for custodian or maintenance or anything like that, is that make it difficult for you to find more things for them people to do since they don't have to worry about taking care of that?
No, because in the previous lease, they weren't taking care of that either. So,
Short staff anyways.
in the previous lease, yeah, and we're down bodies as well in custodial ranks, yes.
We're still gonna have some shared space and.
The shared space are hallways.
So I guess where I'm going with that, are we gonna put into the contract some type of language that whoever they subcontract this help to has to have the appropriate clearances to be around students? And that's one of the reasons why they should use us, because all the people are gonna have the appropriate clearances to be in the structure.
So yeah, so we've already had conversations about all that, and we're collecting clearances for what we already collect from their instructor that's over there. With them being during the school day and so forth, we already collect that, so yeah, that is definitely part of it. The other thing that's part of it,
So they can clean and do the work when the students are in session, they can work without some shift. I mean, some part of that has to be in there, because if they're gonna subcontract this out, you're gonna get different person.
They can farm it out to
Yeah.
subcontractors.
It's gonna be a revolving door of people.
That's gonna be a logistical nightmare for you to keep up with clearances and who's working and when they're working.
we'll address that as it comes up. They know they have to get clearances, they know that they're in there with our students, they know that that's all part of being on our campus. The other side of things is, just so you know, we are ordering and training all of their staff in our school safety protocols. They will be then connected in with, our radios and all that kind of stuff as we move forward after this year as well. Currently, they never have been in the past, so that's all part of it as well. So we kind of have planned out that, yes, they have to come to our certain safety trainings, our staff, and they're gonna be part of all of that, with being it's a K-12 school, instead of, 10-12 schools there, but, for secondary school versus those. So, yes, Frank, go ahead.
Where I came from, we had subcontracted all of our custodial efforts in all those buildings. We had up to like 5 different subcontractors at that time. There was constant turnover, but I was able to manage that pretty quickly because they're gonna have to come to us for keys, come to us for badges to get into the building. And through that, all I need to know, and it'll be through like a service master bond, or someone up here that's gonna do things like that. So we'll be able to manage that through the security protocols that he put into place with that. So they have to come to us to even get in the building, and that's when we'll make sure they have their stuff together.
Thanks for the comment.
So Frank and Frank, Jess, and I have been in a lot of meetings with the EC3. We're still working on that. We're hoping to bring that to you in January. Thought we'd have it for now, but we aren't quite there. We pulled off all the personnel stuff, and that kind of helped us to.
So the building's still locked 24/7?
Yes.
So if every ECTS students or any school student, they're gonna have badge in the building?
No, they don't get a badge to badge.
They get in the building?
Our students don't badge to badge in. They get in the building because the doors are unlocked at arrival and dismissal, and then they have staff that's there to man the entrance. So like RCI, the IU person's there to man the entrance for them to arrive and dismiss. And then for Erie County Community College, when they go there and they buzz, it buzzes over to our office, and we have them on camera where our secretaries can let them in if it's at a time that, there's not a person there opening the door to let people in and out. We do not unlock that door from, 8:07?
Sounds right, that sounds right.
Our doors are unlocked,
Small window.
7:52 to 8:07, it's a 15-minute window, is what we said. Our doors are unlocked from 7:52 to 8:07 for our student arrival. And then at 8:07, it's locked down for the rest of the day.
And so if somebody showed up with a badge at 8:15, they're like, I'm late for work or whatever.
Well, if they have their own badge, then they can badge in, yeah. If they have our badge.
If a student shows up after that.
If we have our issued badge,
Okay. I'm
Which-
talking about one of these subcontracted workers. If
they would
have-
be issued our badge.
Okay.
They would have to get, so that's how you manage the
I
clearance.
guess
The
I would
subcontracted
worry a
worker-
little bit about, like, so we ran background check on custodian Z. And the EC3 or whatever it is like, oh, well, we just have this here, you take it. You use this to get into the building. How do we know that that's not gonna happen?
I don't think they don't really have badges over there to do that with, am I correct? Because if they give a custodial contract, when we give them a badge, we're gonna control when they can go in and out of that building. So they can come earlier, but their badge won't let them in until a specific time.
All of our badges have settings through IT of when they can get in, when, like our teachers just can't get in here after 10 o'clock if they can't get in. So like, we have all of our things set. Now our administrators, we can get in 24/7. We also have alarms that go off, and I've set the alarms off before, and so does Jess, right? When we come in and work on the weekends, so, or in the evening, whatever, after,
So nobody can just like, be like, oh, I'm gonna use, like what if you lost, or I'm gonna just use, what if you lost your badge? So can somebody just come in?
They could, unless I report to him.
Yes, our staff are
and he
trained,
shuts it down with 3 clicks.
yes, our staff have been told and trained that
Trained.
if you lose your badge, you need to immediately report it. I shut it off. Back to your point too is, and what Frank was saying, if you borrow Matt's badge, if there's some question who was in the
Violation
building,
of policy and you can be fired for that.
I can look on the camera and I cross-reference what the badge system, it says Matt Laverty's badge, let him in. I can look at the camera, that's not Matt Laverty. Somebody has some explaining to do.
And we have real time,
It's the state police.
our security system tells us real time the doors are open and closed,
Okay.
who's come in and out. So if you lose a badge,
you don't have access to our security system. So if he loses his badge and someone else picks it up and comes in when nobody's here, they're gonna set off the alarm.
And then Julie and Frank and myself and Officer Gady, we all get a call at 11:30 at night when I walk out and forget the alarms were set. The custodian sets alarms while I was in the
Well, and
building.
I'm not saying you can give your badge, but what if you
Yeah.
left your badge?
No, but yeah,
down,
yeah,
You know, I mean, and then you didn't realize, oh, I left my badge, I don't have my badge.
yeah.
Still have his report.
Especially if it's a
Absolutely.
Saturday when you're like not expecting it, but you dropped it or.
So I can tell you, we are 1,000 times more safer than we were 4 years ago, and we're 1,000 times more safer than we were a year and a half ago when I got here
Yeah.
with the renovation, because there was badges to each one of our contractors and all of their guys, and they all had badges, and they had badges. There was like a lot of badges.
Yeah.
They have all been shut down, right, Michael?
That's
As of-
correct.
We were shut off as of September,
September something.
it was September 1st or 30th, I think. And then we re-upped a couple badges for them to come back in and fix things, yeah. So we're pretty good on the security, like, the cameras are all working now, the badge system's all working now. We train a lot with our staff that
Yeah.
if someone's giving the badge to someone else to come in, you know,
Well, and it's not even so much
Major security.
somebody's giving it, but what, you know, like,
they lose it, they don't realize.
yeah.
Yeah, dual enrollment, they've got their own class, the classroom that we lease to the, yeah,
To IU5.
IU5.
IU5
Is
manages.
separate from that, or is it shared with them?
No, so IU5 shares some of that space with them. It's a separate contract and they rent space as well.
But they're still renting from us? or-
They're renting from us, yes. Yes.
They're basically in the same hallways, right?
They're in the same classrooms.
Oh, they're in the same class.
classrooms.
Just different times.
IU5 is there Tuesday and Thursdays from 8 to noon. That's all, that they're there. And then they know that we're not kicking IU5 out. That's part of, they know that with EC3. They're taking it from noon on. Now, I'm greenlighting them to build out programming, from 8 a.m. on as they start to ramp up and build out programming. But they know that IU5, that's
Secured.
yeah, like blacked out dates, whatever.
That's good, if we can separate the days completely.
What is it, I'm thinking of a traditional college. You got class at 8, at 9:10, at 10:25. You have constant coming and going in classes. You have multiple classrooms in there. You can't have the door locked and say everyone's in at 8 o'clock. College
But that's
campuses-
exactly why IU5's person's sitting there, to let the kids go in and out for IU5. For EC3, their programs are like us. So they're not,
so that
they're doing industrial maintenance, they're doing welding. Those are 3-hour classes. So it's not
That helps.
quite the
So
same.
that's what I.
But they also have, their instructor manages that too, so the kids can always go around to the back entrance of the welding lab. And actually, a lot of them do park in the back and go in and out the back entrance with the teacher allowing them to go in and out. Kind of the door to the lab, so to say. Am I right there, Frank? Yeah. But that teacher is charged with making sure all the safety protocols are followed. And there were no trainings in the past of school safety for any EC3 person that I'm aware of. I'm looking and seeing, do you know if we've ever trained them? No. We've alerted them that they were gonna have to go through, any new staff member's gonna go through a safety training with us. We have to get the clearances, we have to get that stuff on file, we gotta get badges, we're gonna issue badges and stuff like that. And they're basically gonna be treated like our adjunct faculty, like adjunct staff to us. That, to me, is the only way, because they're here with us, it's the only way that all the safety stuff is covered that needs to be covered. So they're gonna have our protocols, our handbook, everything on safety for lockdown, reunification, all that kind of stuff. They're gonna be absorbed into our community to make it happen. Do you guys have any guest programs that come in on your sites like that? No. No.
The liability. I'm hoping that somewhere down the road, we are going to be able to put hard facility between us and them. This shared liability, we're taking all the liability of their program into our students. So we're injecting other unknowns into our programs, and that we're assuming liability, we're gonna train them, we're gonna badge them, we're gonna hold certs for them. goes wrong, they're gonna say, ECTS was the one who said that these people were trained, that they had the proper credentials. So, probably taking a very pressing, pragmatic look at this, but that's kind of where my mind is going, is when you have this shared community, we're holding all the responsibilities of what they need for training. If it goes wrong, they're gonna look at us. Because we set the standard for what it had to be.
We've actually been doing it for like the last 12.
I know, but I don't necessarily know that all of our districts are fully aware that their students are intermingling with populations that are not
I'm trying to
district
understand.
students.
That's what I'm
I
trying to
don't necessarily
understand.
know that my district is fully
They
cognizant
do.
of that.
They are. If they're not, it's shame on your leadership. Because they know the RCI program is occurring here. They know EC3 is occurring here. All the superintendents know the same information about Erie County Community College, the leases and all that kind of stuff. That have been, they're getting those same reports. I know Joe did the reports, with them beforehand. Am I right to?
Yes, we all know.
Yeah. So,
And the only students over there is the RCI students, correct?
no, we have, with the one, during renovation, we had students over there.
Right.
Great location. We have our transition center, our special ed.
Okay.
Transition
I
center
forgot about
students.
that.
That's the only program over there. And if I get my way, that's not the only program over there. I would feel better, I would feel safer to have 3 programs over there, and then there's more staff members in mass over there in the long run. That's where if we expand, that's where I'm looking to take it.
I mean, my point to that question was, wouldn't that onus fall on the IU5?
To tell the districts that they are there with other people.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's their program, they're renting space from us, wouldn't that onus fall on them?
Yeah, so just so we're clear, up to this year, EC3 was only an evening program. This year, EC3 started to operate their welding in 2 cohorts. They go noon to 4, and then 4 to 10. So we allowed them to be there in the afternoon, noon to 4. They're not there in the morning. RCI is there in the morning. EC3 is not there in the morning currently, just so everyone's on the same page. In the long run, I am opening up EC3 to run as much training programs as they can offer our community. We are a training facility of technical skills. That's what we're about. That's our mission, that's our vision. And I want to maximize the use of all of our space for the benefit of our community. That's my philosophy behind it. So when I sat down with EC3 and said, yes, you can start coming in at noon, and yes, you can come in the future at 8 a.m., it was with that idea that we're getting as many people trained for our community as possible. In our bylaws, in our policies, not bylaws, I apologize, I said that wrong. In our policies, we are allowed to enroll adult ed students in with our current high school students in any program that's not filled. So I could take a 22-year-old kid and I could put him in construction trades.
You have the enrollment control over them. You made the selection, you made the choice. In this other version, you delegated that to someone else. They can choose to let anyone that is willing
To show up, correct.
So that's,
It's free currently.
That's true.
Correct, I totally understand that.
The one takeaway from this, because I think we've been on the path to encourage this with EC3, and I think we want to continue that.
Yeah.
But the only caution, I don't know where it would fit, but I think for our high school people, and maybe we ought to say something to the IU, there's a lot of dual enrollment happening on Mercyhurst's campus.
Yep.
The students, if they go there, they know that's a college campus. The only caveat I would say is somewhere in our handbook or something, for students
Making
coming
sure
here, we
everyone
just need to
knows.
make that known. And if that's a problem, then they don't have to come here for dual enrollment or that type of thing. I think we need to do our due diligence. I think, Mike, to your point, it's just say, this has happened. There will be adult students in the facility.
I think the collaboration between community colleges, that's great. I just think we need to limit the liability. We need to very clearly express who is going to be on our campus. If you're a student A and interacting with, or participating with.
all of our special ed students and all of our special ed directors, they all know, we hold meetings with them. They know what's going on in that building when they place a student in that program. So that's where I'm saying, like, yes, that communication's already happening and they already know with our transition program that those students are in there, and we have the IU, RCI classes in there, we have EC3 in there. All of them know that already. So we will continue to make sure that's clearly articulated. I know that one of those things about the clear barrier and 2 separate entrances and stuff like that, we are not in the position to be able to make that happen. And so that is something I know that you're looking like something you would like to see happen. We can't make that happen with our current building. Now, mind you, part of this EC3 community college lease is a long-term lease. It's 10 years, renewable 3 other times at 5 years apiece, to be 25 years. And the purpose of that is to go after the grant funding that's rolled out by the state for community colleges to build out programming. And there's money flowing in the budgets to EC3. So they are trying to get plans in place by February, we're supposed to have meetings and stuff like that, to where they're gonna go after a grant to renovate that whole building. There will be a lift at some point because we share the building. If they get a $15 million grant to renovate that building and build out spaces, we are gonna be benefit from that $15 million. But we're probably gonna have a little bit of a lift there to do something to help on part of that lift down the road. To me, that's the only way we get that building renovated in the near future, is through that grant funding of rowing the boat together, working together on a project.
$15,000 a month.
Strongly suggest that they renovate the new wing so that we can use that.
Well, right now, because we.
That is all part of the discussions we can have when they get an architect and they get plans and that kind of stuff.
Right now, we don't have intermingling of the students because we don't have, right now, attending anything in the morning, and that's the only time we have college courses now.
Has been, not anymore.
No, they don't have a course right now. They don't have the breath welding in the afternoon, you said, and then night.
EC3 has welding in the afternoon. IU5 has the RCI dual enrollment programming in the morning.
So we don't have intermingling at this moment.
But we have a program, the TRC, the Transition Center
Oh,
Special Ed.
but they're,
It's there with both of those.
Yeah, but they've been intermingling for the last 4 years, basically. That's nothing new.
For time, this is just letting you know the lease is progressing. We'll bring the lease to you next month. We will continue to talk about safety and all that good stuff. I thought the fact that we were going to training their staff to be part of our safety protocols, I thought the badging and the making sure we have clearances, that, rather than give them a key, we're giving them a badge, and then we have control of that paperwork. Right now, their staff over there is 1 person. When they build out the second program, which is industrial maintenance, now we're going to 3 people. Now, I know custodial and cleaning and all that kind of stuff is in the works, but that's really what we're looking at as the lift of the people over there every day. Now, that could change down the road. They may build it out and get it to be viable where they have a lot more going on over there, but right now, that's what we're looking at. All right, let's keep going, Mike. New program discussion. So we've had talks for 4 or 5 months now about heavy equipment. And at our last superintendent meeting, basically we were a split vote on opening that for the fall of 2025. So we decided to table that. We will not open a new program for fall of 2025. We will bring the motion to you guys in January for approval of the new program, and it will be to open in the fall of 2026. So it allows us an extra year to kind of plan that program and get our ducks in a row and so forth.
What were the dissidence issues?
What's that?
What were the dissidence issues?
The growth, the speed of growth, and the rising cost to each one of your districts with growth in enrollment. Am I getting that okay, Matt?
Yeah, I would say that that concern was probably shared the most from the smaller districts. When you take a look at these numbers and you look at the smaller districts, I think their concerns were the ones where their costs were concerned with. They were worried about what that looked like. there's still, I think, there's still a strong commitment to heavy equipment.
There is.
I mean, there's no doubt about that, it's just a question of when.
Yeah.
Just a question.
And to be honest with you, it buys us all time, lets us all continue to adjust. You know, we're gonna bring Sandy back to make sure she gets everything, all that work done next year on a consultant role. Yeah.
I told you she wasn't going nowhere.
It really was, it's a win-win either way, right? It's a win-win that we're moving forward, we made a decision. It's a win-win actually administratively that we have, with the growth of 4 new teachers and 200 students this year, it allows us a little bit more settling before we continue to grow. So that's the good part about it.
Keep it manageable.
And I don't think waiting 1 more year is really gonna really hurt us that bad you know, in the growth side of it.
Because we're heavy equipment, I think you're planning on putting in the other building anyways.
Correct. That's one of those ones we wanted to put in the other building because a lot of that's outside equipment and we have that warehouse space.
You got a door that can get heavy equipment in.
And we're on the fence on heavy equipment repair and operation, or just going straight to heavy equipment repair. We've talked about that, and I think we're leaning maybe to now change what we thought about starting with repair, because that SIP is really just the diesel mechanic SIP, and going into the operation, straight into the operation. That's kind of where we were as an admin leadership team. There's been a lot of discussions about it, a lot of good discussions, and I'll get to the numbers that I put in there that I gave to the superintendents here in a second, but we'll run down through it. The other thing I wanted to highlight is the professional development updates. We have a lot of, through our TAP program, we have a lot of options for some support through IU5. We've been tapping into their training, their TAP consultants and so forth quite a bit. And then, well, I guess, TAP program is Max Teaching and in the Southern Regional Education Board. What we've been doing is trying to be strategic. We met as a leadership team and said, okay, we're working with new teachers. We got all this stuff with new teachers. Well, then we have 2nd year to 4th year teachers to work through. And then we have experienced teachers that we're going back through and so forth. We have quite a bit of training going on, quite a bit of instructional coaching happening we use our CTDSL, which is an experienced retired CTE leader coming in, working with teachers and so forth. I just highlight that because we really have a lot of going on with our teachers in professional development. Keep going, Mike. A couple other things to note, just reporting on some community service things going on. Our EPS was out there doing the Supporting Our Heroes Day, the Shop with a Hero Day. We did the snow responders, we did the Rotary Interact Club, season of giving. We also had 22 baskets that our staff delivered on Saturday from Elks Club number 67 out to our students. We have a warm clothing. There's a lot of good things happening. And then Beauty Bingo we hosted with Cosmo. You can keep going, Mike. They raised over $5,000 for their trip in one night, so that was pretty awesome. I want to let you know we're also, I'm beating the drum of grants. I'm not letting it sit around. We applied for the CTE, this PA Smart grants for CTE Advancing for $500,000 for us in our manufacturing programs. We were in a joint grant, consortium grant for the robotics, that's the drones and computer science stuff, where we get about $130,000 for drones, computer science, and a half-time tech support person into that grant for helping our staff, do more with that. And then we did a CTE STEM and planning grant for our TRC program to turn them into a career tech ed program. And pretty much we did driving on air and driving on land and air is basically what we talked about. Really working on community mobility training, bringing back some of that where our kids can get driver's education training in that program to get independence. To me, that's a big part of employability. But then we got the computer science in there with also flying drones and the FAA 107 licensing.
What about detection, drone detection? Can we add that somewhere? It seems to be
That's all part of it.
commodity. Right?
That's what that FAA 107 is.
You're allowed to shoot at the air, you're allowed to shoot at these drones in the air,
I mean, this is a hot, emerging technology in all fields. And that's one of the things we talked about. It's in every program. So that's, when we wrote those grants, we talked about having a little snippet in all the programs and then doing an extracurricular after-school type club or something like that, summer program, for them to dig in further with the drones, rather than have it be a standalone program. that's, a couple-year program. Perkins Competitive Grant, we also applied for $106,000 for our health and SDS, getting, what's called I can't even say the word, anatomy table. We'll just make it simple. It's a really, really advanced teaching tool that they'll share. It's, if we get that grant. We haven't heard of any of those grants yet. There's more grants being submitted, but we'll cover that here in a second. Okay, with the superintendents, I put together kind of a budget review for talking about expansion, and we put the projection numbers on it. We put that all together. They asked me to put out a projection for 3 years, and so that's what we'll go to here in a second. But let's keep going through the other things I have here. The solar grant project and grant, the details are on there. We had a meeting again today. We'll bring a resolution to apply for that grant. It's got to be due by the end of January. Those are the basics of what we're looking at to make that grant happen. We'll be bringing a presentation to you in January. Basically, the solar grant will cover $400,000. We're looking at trying to get a zero interest loan to the government for the rest of the cost. And it would be then where we at minimum, save $5 million over 20 years of the project, of the lifespan of the solar project. It would be about 5-acre plot in the back that would have the solar panels, and we would have our own solar field. So we will bring that to you in January to approve the resolution to apply.
So, just in anticipation of that, have we figured out with Tim or whoever, can we get a loan as a school?
Yes. This loan is through the government agency that's for solar projects.
I understand, but we can't go borrow money for a capital project. Our districts have to, can.
Oh, is that what you're saying?
Yes, have we cleared that before you get too far and find out we can get it, but we really aren't allowed to take a loan? I think we need to make sure that ducks in the row.
Yeah, we would need all 11 of you to approve it. It's a capital project improvement. We would have to go through all of that. That's all part of it.
That would have to be done, but then that would still allow us that time.
Well, that one seems like a no-brainer. We're actually gonna save money.
Well, the program, the reason we had the vote on there, they had, I don't know if everybody watched the seminar on this grant. Did anybody watch the seminar? I went to the team seminar, and we had to apply for this grant by the end. We had to prove that we were interested in doing it. Doesn't mean nothing until we'll qualify for the grant, but we have, it's kind of a matching grant, but we don't have to use it if we don't agree on it, but we have to apply for it. So we have to agree to apply for this grant, and if, let's say it falls through, we don't gain no money, we don't lose no money, but we have to say that we want the grant, which is really strange.
It has been a strange process, because we have connected with some third-party consultants. We have connected with DCD, we've connected with, people from the governor's office about this grant. I've been in a couple of meetings with them specifically about this project here at our school. It'd be a 1 megawatt system. It'd be the largest public system in northwestern PA, and they're really excited about it because they pass these laws and they make these grants, but they're not that simple to execute, so not everyone's applying for it. So, what I look at is we get our ducks in a row, we apply for the grant.
3 years.
You have 3 years to spend it and make the project happen. The project doesn't take that long from start to finish, according to the construction, advice that we're getting as far as it's gonna be in the backfield. It's done, they're taking 3 months, they can put the field up. So all the stars have to align to make it happen. But I think we are a tech school, and we are teaching the latest, greatest technology. I want it as the teaching side of things of, renewable energy is not going away. Our kids, our electrical kids, our facility maintenance kids, our construction, we are building curriculum as part of the grant application around the project. I know I've talked to Sandy about that a little bit, but Sandy does, it's coming a lot more since the grant's due this January 31st. Yeah.
Where is it? And I guess the big where is.
We
A few short months ago, all but one of the 11 were willing to sell the back acreage for a probably what you're gonna save.
Well, the problem is,
So.
So there's 147 acres back there. You guys were gonna sell 100, we're gonna go on 5 acres, right back there on the right-hand side of the second half.
So it's gonna be
2/3 of that
five acres,
field.
on the section that we weren't considering to sell, won't be wetlands, won't impact heavy equipment.
this is grant.
It's gonna-
But, no, this grant means nothing. All we have to do is
I
prove that we're
understand it means
interested.
nothing, but-
It's not going nowhere unless first we have to prove that we're interested.
I'm not even interested unless I know where it's going.
It isn't,
Because if it's gonna potentially tank selling those 100 acres, which could have significantly impact our capital investments funding, which could help one of our districts with their tax base, there's some real big financials that gotta be clear on that, like.
So for lack of a better nice picture, because I've written on this one, but that's pretty much what we're looking at. It's a 5-acre plot, right there's the back parking lot, we're looking right back here.
it really, this particular grant, it's a 3-year grant, and the board has to prove that we're interested. It means nothing, but we have to qualify to even get the grant, we have to approve a resolution that we're interested. And after that, it doesn't mean nothing. All it means is that we're really interested in it, it doesn't
You're
mean
saying
nothing.
that there'd be a second vote whether we exercise it.
Right, all we're
especially
doing
if
is,
you-
all we're saying is
It's a
we're
capital
interested in
project,
applying
so
for a
we're gonna have
grant.
to go to all of your boards
Right, all we're saying
to
we're
do the
interested
same
in.
kind of like vote to make it happen.
Right, all it is, we're interested, it has to have a resolution by the school boards that we're interested in applying for the grant. That, it's really strange, because I went to the,
I think we need to bring enough information, Sean, where it's gonna land, where the heavy equipment program is going to utilize that plot of land that we're on, how it doesn't impact, because that's gonna be, I'm not even interested in the grant if it's going to potentially set back other opportunities.
it isn't gonna do nothing, all it is a resolution that we're interested. It doesn't mean, it means nothing. You have to realize, you need a resolution for the school board that we're interested. It really was strange, I went to the class and I said, this doesn't make no sense. Oh, well, you have to have a resolution that you're interested and have to put it by in January, and if you don't put it by January, you're not qualified to even get any money. So all it is saying, yeah, we're interested in a solar farm, but doesn't mean, actually means absolutely nothing, we just have a resolution to say, yeah, we're interested. Okay, it said,
So in the long run, it's about saving money. It's about having a learning lab of the latest, greatest technology and energy for our students to engage in. And it's about being environmentally friendly,
but
right? And that's how we're writing our grant. That's the purpose of doing it. So in the projection of $5 million in savings over 20 years, that's if energy costs do not change. We all know energy costs are not going to change. So we're projected to be about $8 million savings. That, number one, is why we look at doing the project. Okay? To me, then, the educational value of our students engaging in the project and so forth, that's number two. And the environmental impact's number three. There's a few other tech schools that have put in solar arrays and so forth. They've done it different ways. They've done it where it's a lease program. They've done it where it's a third-party purchasing program, basically. There's not savings in that. I believe we could pull this off. If I didn't believe we could pull this off, I would drop it and save myself a lot of work. I mean, we have been meeting since March on this. We've been talking about this. We've got proposals. We've talked, I've been in meetings with the governor's office. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If I told you this isn't good, if it's not good, I'm not going to do it. But to me, I don't think we can shake a stick at $5 to $8 million of savings. I don't think we ignore that.
right, you always did work on it, but you have to have a resolution that you're interested in it by the end of January, or you don't, the money's not, it's so much money this year, you have to have your resolution in this year. And if you don't put it in, you don't qualify for nothing.
And if we get a grant and we decide we're not going to do it, then we tell them, sorry,
Right.
we couldn't come to an agreement, we're not going to do it.
And if we're paying $3 million and we're gonna save $5 million, that's $2 million, so that's over
No.
20 years, that's
No.
$100,000.
It's not $2 million. We're profiting $5 million.
We're profiting $5 million.
After paying the $3 million, we're profiting $5 million. And that's a minimum. Like, They're telling me 8 million, but I put 5 million because I 5 to me was enough of the sell. Anything better is even better, so.
Matt, and all your costs here, are you projecting any annual maintenance costs, replacement costs of any of these panels? Is that included in any of these numbers?
It is, I mean, I've heard
Packets
of
about
proposals.
solar panels. They're very expensive to replace.
Well, let's say,
So if we're projecting these to last 20 years, okay, but I highly doubt they're gonna last 20 years.
Okay, but even if what you just said is true, and he's padded, under padded, at $5 million in savings over 20 years, that's $250,000 a year.
Yeah.
If we have to replace some solar panels.
Which is our current energy cost.
Yeah, if we had to replace some solar panels, I can almost guarantee it's not gonna cost $250,000
Basically, that's the
every year.
idea, is the savings comes from, year 6 is when we pay off the system of $3 million investment, based on the numbers of what we've got. And then $250,000 a year is the savings moving forward.
Right.
But we're only gonna be voting on the resolution that we're interested in the grant.
Correct, yeah.
That's all we're gonna be voting for, that we're interested by the end of January to apply for it.
I completely understand what you're saying.
Okay.
You don't understand what I'm saying.
I don't even want this
It doesn't
solar.
work. I don't even care about the grant.
I don't, you
I
don't
wouldn't even
want.
vote to move the grant forward if it didn't make sense for the district long, for the school long term. So if it doesn't align with the strategic plan, and it doesn't align with the value of the land, like, yes, we can save $5 million over 20 years. We can also sell the land tomorrow and make more than that in 20 years just on accruing the interest, like leaving it in a.
Yeah, I see what you're saying,
So-
so wherever he puts it, that's
the most critical.
that's your
You can't just go-
caveat, is wherever
Wherever
it's
it goes,
gonna
it's
go.
gotta align with the strategic vision for where this school is in 20 years, because you just can't rip it back out. So if it's in the middle of the way of where we need to get to, then it just needs to be very well thought, because it can't be half-baked.
Well, there is some squishy land out there on the map. That'd be a perfect place to put solar
That's my
panels.
point. We need to make sure that the squishy land, the panels don't.
I get it. If we were gonna utilize our 150 acres to put this in to save $5 million, that would strategically would not be a way to move forward. And that's what we're hearing, is it's not, I get it, it's a motion next month to start the process. We've got time to figure it out. What Mike's saying is, let's think through everything, where it's placed.
So as long as we have the
Right.
bug in your ear that we don't want it put where there's a possibility that land can be sold, I feel like you can wrap your head around that and work with it.
Correct.
Where big dump trucks don't maximum revenue.
Big dump trucks.
Because we still want numbers and diggers.
Yeah.
I can tell you about that.
Good, let's keep moving.
Yeah.
All right, keep it
That was
rolling
something
down
about
through there.
the solar panels, you had to go out to our school district.
And then you got the student spotlight, that's our EPS helping and keep going, and then that's our guys out shoveling and helping out in the community, so. That ends my report. It was a long one.
You're going back to.
Oh, it doesn't, because we gotta go back to part one and two. All right, pull up part one, Michael. All right, so we put all these numbers together at the request of the superintendent, so we basically put out projections on year to year to year of where we're headed in projection, how it affects each one of you guys, and where we're headed on budget. And I'm going to start by saying to everyone, this is a projection, and it was based off of trend data. It is not for sure actually gonna happen. And I say that because we had several superintendents really nervous over some of the projections. Okay, I got it. So you understand, 3-year averaging is how we do it, figure out our numbers for, charging the districts. And we charge the districts, I know we call it tuition, but it really isn't tuition. Because when you add a student, we don't get an extra tuition. It hits 3 years down the road before we start to get extra money based on that student coming. So it's really pure pupil cost. And so the red 3 numbers there by Iroquois, those 3 columns are how we get the red numbers for a 23, 24 three-year averaging. And I mapped it across that way, to hopefully to make it easier to understand. The three purple columns make up the 24, 25, orange, 25, 26, green, 26, 27, so forth. So you can see that this year's a projection because we don't have our end of year numbers for this year. And the formula I used to project this year was took everyone's school district enrollment at the time that I created this, and I subtracted 1. That's what the SD minus 1. So my formulas are in there for the projection. Because we always have a little melt where students drop out, students don't make it to the end, they go change schedule mid-year, that kind of thing. So we're projected kind of to end this year at 947 students. Then looking at the growth next 2 years, basically I just took each school district and added 5. So for next year, I added 5 to each one of those school districts, and the following year 5, to get those projection numbers. Because there's really no other way, looking at trend data, to truly predict that enrollment easily.
And just for comparison, for the 5, one new program, if it's full, gives us 4 more seats, because there's 11 of us.
One new program basically gives you like 2 seats for the first year, 4 seats for the second.
Correct, but when it gets to fruition,
Yes.
it'd be basically only looking for 4
Yes.
seats. all year.
Now, on the second sheet, you'll see that new program impact, so I put that on the second sheet. So this is what the superintendent's asked me to run all through this and put together this projection. So I kind of highlighted in yellow, those are the projection years, but it shows you your participant share change with the change in enrollment the last couple of years, projected out through 28, 29. So you can see that percent share, how it's fluctuating up and down basically and moving forward. And if you notice, it kind of levels out 27, 28, 28, 29 because it's the same formula projecting across. Any questions on those projections? Because those will tie into all the budget stuff. Okay, so those are the numbers that then went to give me all the budget numbers. And so when we pull down below that on that page, now we have the district contribution numbers, basically, with those participant share numbers to kind of give you what you're looking at as a district for your contributions over the next few years. Now I'll get to where I got the numbers of district contributions on the next page, but basically that kind of gives you the idea of where we're at for projections and so forth. Now I did this without any state subsidy in mind. I did this based on the last 5 years, going into this year, to project out for 3 years at the request of the superintendents. So that shows kind of a lot of growth in our budget, where we're at 5.8 on district contributions, 6.3, 7.4, 8.5, 9.6. I'll show you those formulas. It's just based off of a formula. It's not the actual what we're going to make our budget, for the record. Okay, everybody good so far in understanding where we're at? So now we go to page 2. Page 2 then is how we got all the budget numbers. So on the left side, you kind of have the synopsis of attendance of 3-year averaging on that top scenario. And then we go, Mike, you gotta go farther right. We gotta go way over to the right to the per pupil cost. This year, in purple there, with a little red box around it, $8,325 is our per pupil cost. Now you can see the trend of the last 5 years of change in per pupil cost. Now to make this projection, I just build it off of that alone. So I want you to understand that. To make this projection, I build it off of per pupil cost. So one of the things I discussed with the superintendent is the 0% change in per pupil cost for next year. And we are holding the line on that. We are not changing per pupil cost for next year. Now, as you look at the trend over the last 5 years, the average change, when you add up all those years, was 5%. And that's what I use to then project the next year at 5%, which I think is a little high, but holding it at 0%, then I felt comfortable going to 5% over the next 2 years. And that per pupil cost is how this whole thing is built off of. So, if we now back up to the district contribution column, basically, no, you gotta go, no, Mike, no.
Oh, sorry.
Go to the right, go to the right,
Too fast.
right, okay. Try to make district contribution the last column on the sheet. Other way. Okay. So in order to get the district contribution column, basically all I did was take our 3-year average daily membership, the 759, which is 51 students more than we had the previous year. That's why we can hold the per pupil cost. Because 51 students times the extra $8,000 in per pupil cost is a budget that increased by $420,000. So that's how I got the district gross contribution there in orange, in the red box there in orange, the 6.3 million. And then the 3-year average daily membership, 759, 845, 918, 102, 142. Those numbers were projected out from the previous page. That's how I got those numbers. The per pupil cost going up by 5%, going up by 5% times that number is how I got the 7.3 million in green, the 8.4 million in blue, and so forth, to get our district contribution rates numbers. Purely a projection. Now, the total budget I got simply by taking that gross district contribution and adding 1.5 million as a general trend that you were seeing in the previous 5 years of numbers. Roughly, very rough general trend there. So that's where these numbers came from in order to help the superintendents wrap their head around our growth and around what does it do on 3-year averaging and so forth. Now, the plus HEO column by 3-year average daily membership, I probably should have got up and pointed, so it would have been easier for you to follow maybe. I was pointing up there, I'm a bad teacher. But the 3-year average ADM, what is the impact of adding a new program? And that's what that plus HEO does. If we were to add a new program in the fall of 2025, basically, you see that we get 845, 929 roughly, 1,022 and 1,082 into our 3-year average. It doesn't hit for a couple years to start having an effect. You know, we open the program here, for 1 year it doesn't have an effect. For the next year, it's 10, a matter of 10 students total, right? We're going right here. And it kind of changes it 10 students, then changes it 20 students, then changes it to the extra students of a full program of 40. So now if we go all the way to the right, Mike, that's the effect on the budget of adding a new program to say, okay, what's the impact on our total budget over here by adding a new program? It doesn't affect anything truly on the bottom line. It does. I know it costs to run the program, but not on adding to the budget based on a pupil enrollment until 3 years down the road where it's 91,000 extra, 220,000 extra, and then 384 extra based on the rising number of 3-year average daily membership on with that per pupil cost. So I did that with the superintendents as per their ask. How does this look? Where is this going? How do we project out? And that gives us the projection. The one thing I will tell you is it doesn't take into consideration the state subsidy at all. And me doing this in November for our December meeting, Jess was busting her butt because I was all over her. I want the budget done earlier because I got to get that budget done earlier so that they can actually have that perspective because it changes how this looks. And well done, Jess. She got it for me at last minute. We had it ready to go. They busted their tail because I was pushing them. And so we presented the budget, which we'll present to you guys in January, preliminary presented it to the superintendent to show the impact. With that, the bottom line, with state subsidy, growth in our budget and everything, the bottom line, total district contribution, that from this year to next year that's going to increase, total, all 11 districts was, do you remember?
How much was the increase?
Totally with once the state subsidy was factored in.
The subsidy is now at like 1.3 million, when we used to get like 800,000.
Yes. So do you remember what the increase of their weight of 11 altogether? It was 48,000 or something like that dollars. Maybe
Yes,
50.
yeah, it was.
It was $50,000 total increase in district contribution
It was like.
from this year's budget to next year's budget for all 11 together.
That's great.
Yeah, it was like a 0.9 or a 1%.
I think that's what it was, wasn't it? I should look
So
at
they
it.
wanted to pause,
What's that?
they wanted to hold one more year.
Well, but see, we're
Some
still,
districts are in different settings than other districts.
we're in that sweet spot right now, this year, because you've got that delay of 3-year average that goes back so far. That's what's gonna happen here in about 4 or 5 years, that's gonna catch up. And I think that's probably what some of that uneasiness is. I love the projection, let me start that, I like that, I like to look at it, I don't wanna go in the ditch here. But we had a conversation a couple months ago, remember, Mike? And I think the good part that's gonna come out of this is, it was what, 3 or 4 short years ago that we were talking about curtailing programs because we had 10 in a class, okay? Now you've got a whole bunch of kids in a class and you're still paying that one teacher. Now, there are other costs, and I'm not suggesting that, but it's going to be more efficient to run this school now with more students and fuller capacity. Any business perspective you look at that, you're gonna see it's gonna be more efficient. Is it gonna cost more overall? Yes, but it's gonna be more efficient. And so that's where I think you'll start seeing, as that bubble gets up there where we have, I think, I'm not arguing your projection, but I think your per pupil cost potentially could go down, not up, as you become efficient, unless you've got some other services.
I really don't think it's gonna go down, and here's the reason why is everything is going to costing
Sure.
more and more and more. And our supply budgets currently are not that much different than they were 3 years ago. They really haven't changed. And we know what's changed with COVID and supply chain and cost of things and so forth. So, yes, that's another looming threat, right? So I don't really know that per pupil going down is truly gonna be that great of thing to hang on to. But staying a little bit more flatlined in the 2% range.
Be great.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're holding it 0% next year. The pure pupil cost is 0% next year in the budget that we are bringing to you, proposed to bring to you, and so forth. Mike, if you just scroll down, in our discussions, just so you know, this is what we talked about. The lift to heavy equipment, the extra $100,000 a year to get equipment, right? That's kind of what we talked about over 5 years as an extra supply line, kind of extra budgetary number. Special education. So those are my recommendations, that we hold the per pupil cost, we add heavy equipment, we add a special ed teacher position, we redefine our current administrative positions and add days and redefine Sandy's role into an assistant director role and make it a 260-day versus the 210 currently is. And then some of our superintendent's suggestion, what would it look like if we used fund balance? So let's go back up real quick to look at the past 5 years of fund balance. So I have on there unassigned fund balance and capital project fund balance for the last 5 years there. So you can see where we're at. Last year, we added a lot of money to the fund balance. At the end of the year, we added quite a bit. See the $2.8 million? To the unassigned fund balance from our budget last year. Now, someone said, why? Why'd that happen? The state funding changed. When we build a budget, we build it off of what we know at that time in November. Then there's a, school code passes and the budget passes in June, and that totally changed funding for career tech ed quite a bit. They're adding more money to us right now. So we got about $600,000 more than we thought we were gonna get when we built them with the passing of the laws last summer and career and tech ed funding to us. Likewise, then we got extra grants and some things like that we were able to push some things over to, so we ended up with quite a nice little bump in our unassigned fund balance there. So that's why, I think it might even be you, Matt, what would it look like if we added $1 million to the fund balance last year? What would it look like if we spent some of that money to make some of this happen? And that's where that $100,000 per year over 5 years for hell of equipment and $100,000 for 3 years to pay for the special ed new teacher came from, if we did that. Now, with where we're at, we don't have to do either one of those things right now with the decisions to wait another year. We built a special ed teacher into the budget because we didn't have to build a heavy equipment operator teacher into the budget. So that kind of trades that position. So we're good there. So just so you understand where all those numbers came from.
And those are important, but I would also caution and say, we have something still out there that's not resolved, and that is a change in funding formula for any either new capital projects, even we're talking about with the solar field, but as we're talking about adding potentially new programs, and we're not gonna be doing it under the old formula. And what we committed to at the time is to set up a more healthy capital reserve fund to be able to go to. So to me, I think we have to take half of that right now and put it in a capital reserve fund. We can designate it that way, and we can also change it later, but that gets us on a road to be able to take care of some major expenditures that we need to do. I mean, you're talking about going to get $1 million loan, you've got that right there. You could loan it to yourself and pay yourself back. There's a variety of things that we could do, but we cannot forget that as we're moving forward. Because in 25 years, when it's time to do something major, I'm not gonna be here, but those people are gonna look back and say, what? I mean,
And that's
they're
a
gonna be
very,
another 50 years to try to
And
do something.
so superintendents are right in that same line of thought, aren't you?
Uh-oh.
So
Great minds.
we had scheduled Tim Sennett and the Knox McLaughlin crew to come into our superintendent meeting in February and talk past history of our funding formulas with our superintendents on a little separate side meeting earlier. It might spill over into our meeting, really. And then look at what potential other options might be out there through what else is happening elsewhere in the state. And Tim's agreed to come in and lead that discussion, and it'll be a great discussion in my mind. And to me, maybe that's where we start saying, hey, we are earmarking X amount of dollars every year into capital projects to build that thing. And the goal is to get X by this year and Y by that year and so forth. So we know that new administration, new superintendents, they can't come in and start tapping into that type scenario.
What we originally talked about was building into the budget every year so much money, whatever that would be,
or 500,000,
to
yeah.
put into that, to start building that. We can do it a variety of different ways, because I don't think, we took a couple of years saying, hey, everything's new, we don't have to worry about that now, but we do need to think about it sooner.
So at the end of this year, we were going to bring, Jess and I had already talked about, we're gonna transfer that over to capital projects. We're gonna do it at the end of the year, to kind of say, hey, let's get a motion to approve that over starting for the new year of the capital project. Looks like 1.7 and 1.8 versus 2.87. So that is coming. Just so you know.
So we build our budget every year with the understanding that we use what the existing formula from the state is. And whatever that formula changes over the summer, that excess goes to capital funds. And we don't, so every year there's an injection of capital funds. We don't play the guessing game, what is the state gonna give us this year? And it allows us to continually be in a good spot, because someday they're gonna stop giving us more. And we're gonna guess, they're gonna give us more, we're gonna short, right? So.
That's pretty much how we build our budget, and that's why you saw
That's why you have
that
a
extra
surplus.
1.1 versus
We build
the normal like 2 to 400,000.
surpluses on an annual basis.
Directly to that.
Directly to that.
Matt, on your proposal number 5, that 800,000 that you want to take from the fund balance, what is that 800K going towards?
That's if we did heavy equipment and special ed, and they wanted to see what would it look like if we were able to hold the people at cost, what else would it have to affect? So that was, if you notice that little box right above it, heavy equipment, $100,000 a year over 5 years to build that fleet. And special ed, adding that special ed teacher, which is $100,000 per year roughly, for 3 years before we can work it into the budget. You know, basically because we're holding that per pupil cost. So that 800,000 was spread over 5 years in order to make all the things that we ideally wanted to happen. And we got a special ed teacher. And I know we talked about adding an administrative position last spring. We talked about that briefly. And, you know, everybody, you know, I look at them, they're like, yeah, admin, new admin position would help, yeah. I'm not looking to do that. I'm looking to add a special ed teacher, which then lightens the load that Sandy carries 3/11 of our special ed currently load. And Lisa carries the case management on the other 8/11 of the special ed load. I'm looking to pull that off of them over the next 5 years, maybe one position now and one position 3 years down the road, so that they can then work more into administrative ranks. And I'm drafting a proposal to superintendents of what does it look like taking Sandy's curriculum position and making an assistant director versus some people think maybe an assistant principal. You know, can you do the same? I'm going for an assistant director because there are so much out there. We have 11 communities of school districts with businesses to get in front of, to be parts of chambers, to be parts of all the meetings and so forth, of workforce development, or the Northwest Commission, you know, economic development, that kind of stuff. Then I try to go to a lot of those things, but having an assistant director that can go represent us in the executive-led leadership, that's what I'm going for. And then also the grants. There is a lot of grant money out there. And I know I'm applying for, at this point, we're $2 million extra that we never applied for before, just this year. But there's other money that we're still leaving on the table. And I want that support, and that's why I'm looking at that scenario. So I don't think we need to add an administrative position. I think by redefining our current positions and getting that special ed teacher in there for some of that caseload management, now we just freed up, you know, a third of Sandy and a third of, or maybe half of Lisa to give us that extra admin support. So that's what we're kind of looking at that way. But I will be obviously proposing that with the superintendents and then bringing that to you as well, what that looks like.
We propose this hold the rate because people cost. Superintendents get that back to the business managers, and they all said that's a great idea. Because generally speaking, going zero and then taking a big increase later, you're better off taking 2 small increases as opposed to getting once really large. I know from our perspective, we'd rather have 2% raises than 0 and then have to have a 6% raise. Because you don't want to lose the opportunity of that of the fund that you're going to earn earlier and then have to make it up later. I was totally behind this when we were launching the program to help them get by, but if we're launching the program a year later, all we're doing is we're going to exacerbate that impact further down, and it's going to be a lot heavier. We don't necessarily going to go to 0 next year. It makes sense. 0 makes sense when we launch the program, not before we launch the program.
We actually launched multiple programs.
But we took that into consideration. This year we're going to launch another program that we unexpected. So I personally think that 0 lands where the program launches, because it's going to feel even worse when the program comes in. So I know that's what the superintendent says, so I'm not going to say they didn't take that back to the business managers. Because I can tell you what my
So what I was
business
gonna say,
manager's
we
gonna say.
did.
They're going to say, this is the.
Just in terms of timing, we haven't met that since then.
So
we
we're
had
meeting
this at-
January
We're
3rd.
meeting January 3rd, so we
And
haven't.
the
had a
business
second
managers are
part.
joining that discussion,
Right.
and that's where we're gonna go over the
Maybe
budget.
that discussion should.
So we just had this conversation the first time,
Gotcha.
you know what I mean, and we haven't met yet since then.
Yeah, so this whole plan was with the assumption we were launching the program for the
Yes.
fall.
Yes.
So
Yes,
it probably needs to tweak a little bit since the program's launching a year later.
It can be, it can be.
I would also argue.
I also, you know, to me, I put it together for them and proposed it to them. And so that to me is where we stand, unless they want to see a change, right? I mean,
That's a good point to bring up. Just
Yeah.
never talked about it, because even if you don't need that money right now, a 2 or 2.5% increase now to allow a 0% the next year might make sense, and then you're back to a, 0%. Looking off trends, if I heard you correctly, you were basically averaging about a 5% increase.
For the previous 5 years, it was average at 5% increase. Now, there was years it was 2.1 and 2.4.
Right.
And there was years it was 7.6, just because of, you guys had some downturn in enrollment there with COVID. And
Cost didn't go down, they just.
cost doesn't change. And that's a whole other thing. Like, I know we talked tuition, but by adding students this year, it doesn't change. It's per pupil cost changes. But we don't get, like, by adding a student, an extra 8,000, you know what I mean? So a lot of CTEs look at, like, fill seats, because you're paying for it no matter what. So some places have done, for 9th grade, dropout prevention, kids that are really not seeing the light of the tunnel, like, send them to tech school for free. We'll take them. We won't count them with your ADMs. We'll take them out. Send those 9th graders to us. Because that way they get there earlier, they get into a program, and that helps them to see the light at the end of the tunnel versus drop out. And to fill those extra seats. I mean, because it's not like it's a ton at this point, right? Because it just allows the kids to get to co-op further down the road quicker, that kind of stuff for those kids that we know it's struggling to get them to graduation. Those are some of the things that other schools do to fill those seats. Because really, yes, there's a little bit of bump with maybe more supplies for 48 kids than 40. But really, it doesn't change because we budgeted the same amount, whether it's 48 kids or 40. The teacher costs the same, that overhead costs the same, right? And so, you're getting more bang for your buck by filling 48, you said, versus 40.
I'm just disappointed with the solar program. We're at a point where we're growing. Our students want this education. To pause at the point when you're on when you're growth, you're potentially stymieing your growth. We're hurting industry by waiting another year. I understand the budgets, and I get different districts are in different places. But it's really short-sighted. We always say we hear about kids and education and community. Pausing this for a year is not helping either one of those 2 points. Again, and I get it, we're 11 districts and we're all in different places. I'm challenged by that we always try not to make decisions that hurt our students. This is one that's going to, you never want to take a business and pause when you're increasing. It's the worst time to say, hold up, let me just take a step back and rest. It's hard to
So do the
replace that
superintendents
moment.
take this to all of their respective boards before they squash an idea, or do they just say, no, we're not gonna do this, and we're not giving all 11 boards the opportunity to
No, and I
vote
think
on this?
I think some context to frame it is at the bottom of page 1. I think when you look at what framed the decision for a lot of the districts, or at least in this case, the majority of the districts, and I don't want to break down in terms of what was large school, small school, but you can kind of guess. If you look at the bottom of that, there was the conversation in the room was about deliberate planning over time. We've all worked really hard to increase enrollment, and it's not an unintended consequence. A consequence of that is increased costs, substantial increased costs for districts. So how do we plan for that accordingly? How do we allow things to continue to grow while also talking about the want list, want/need list in terms of changing administrative positions, special education position, all the other things as well. So it's a balance of kind of all of those things. How can we get all of those things? I think that conversation in the room from the majority of districts was that we can get all those things, but not all those things at once. So how do we space them out?
The growth of adding 4 teachers last year hits in budget 2 years down the road. So that's where you see the numbers in the green and the blue is where it starts to hit effect. So when you look at the participant share and those numbers going across for, say, Harbor Creek, Northeast, so forth, that's where that, hey, it's not gonna hurt to pause a year and then open the fall of 2026. It's gonna affect 25 kids that would have gone into that program next year. right? Those 25 kids lose out on that experience. In the long run, that's what they were weighing. You know, when we had a split vote, we had 5 say yes, we had 5 say they wanted to wait or no, and we had 1 non at the meeting. So that's really kind of how it works.
No different than negotiated contracts. You got a 3-year runway. That's about as much deliberate planning that the district has with their budget. It's 3 years out. Anything after 3 years is pure speculation.
And there's a lot of speculation in this budget. This was just built on past trend data, per pupil cost, changes in that, like, because how else do you do it? I really don't know how to do it.
I see both points, because and I've seen businesses grow too fast too. If things aren't managed right, and I'm not suggesting that we're not managing, but by stepping back and giving 1 more buffer year, I think that will make us stronger, longer, than if we all of a sudden get, just even with, like I think what Matt's talking about with admin turnover and some of that, if we can build up some of those other supports, we're stretching our admin team overall, and I think that you don't wanna, a challenge is nice, you don't wanna.
My fear is you're gonna pause a year. We're gonna go to realizing the 26, 27 impact of the 4 programs, and we're gonna go, oh my God, we can't do it this year, we can't do it in 27, we can't do it in 29. Okay, maybe in 30 we can do it. Now we leave that early.
I think we just gotta make sure that we don't do
I
that.
think, I don't wanna say, I think the conversation in the
It was a
room
good
I think
conversation.
the conversation in the room was, the agreement was to delay a year based on the commitment to that year. The understanding that we can be okay with waiting a year if we're committed to that year. And cannot kick in the can.
We're not kicking. That's why in January, we did approve, we're opening the fall of 2026. And in January, we're bringing that proposal to you guys.
You've got a group here that's pretty in support of doing heavy operators, heavy equipment operators. January next year, this group could look very different, right?
Well, that's what we're gonna approve it
Right, that's
next month.
I think that's a good.
So that's the commitment of this team, pause a year, we're all on board.
Yeah, it wasn't a question of heavy equipment or not heavy equipment. It was heavy equipment, just a question of when, this year or next year.
And if we cement that now and get that ball rolling, then
It's in.
yeah, it's going.
It's going, it's already approved, we're making it happen. For the record, and Matt made a great point to me, he goes, the current kids that we're applying and the deadlines are due right now, creative applications, don't have the other equipment in motion they can apply.
We pulled that out before, because we're talking about
Correct.
putting it in.
We added a couple questions right at the end of the application that were just perceptual question, data collection, not where they picked it as a program. If we were to open heavy equipment in the fall of 2025 or 26, would you be interested, was the question, yes or no? And then, would it be your first or second choice, if yes? If you answered yes, would that be your first or second choice? So we're able to collect, so everyone got their programs that we had selected, but then we're ready to collect that data of how many would choose it as a first choice. You could probably go in and mine that data now, right now, and, you know, Mike actually put that on your to-do list to find that data, so I could shoot that out, or, you know, just so we can see. I did pull up the budget. $43,800 is the collective 11 district contribution add with the budget. You know, holding at 0% change in 8,325.
Just double that, and Mill Creek will pay that next year, like I said. We'll give them credit in 2 years.
You know what? That's actually a great solution. If Mill Creek funds the heavy equipment in year 1, would everybody else go for opening it? No, I'm kidding. We're like just chat.
Mill Creek was trying to almost close the school a few years back, so I'm not saying anything. Dropped out, I think so.
All right, so that was a lot. We covered a lot. There's a lot of information there. Thank you for your time, and I apologize that I'm so long-winded. With that, I believe that kind of handles all the major items on the agenda.
Yay, can we get the voter card done?
Okay.
Well, are we gonna pull out C, 9C, table that?
9C, the JOC meeting dates. No, we were gonna approve it.
I'm not approving it. With changes.
Well, I want to see the changes.
What changes it? They don't have times associated with
The February date
Yeah,
will be
yeah, it
noon.
says, yes, it's 6 o'clock.
The December date is at 8:30, and August 14th is at noon.
Need a copy of it.
Yeah, we'll get you a copy.
Does somebody
We'll
have,
totally
does
provide
somebody have that?
that.
Can we change that and put it up there? Do it right now?
Now,
Can you?
I got a handwritten one.
change it right now.
Are we allowed to make amendments right at the meeting?
It's not an amendment, it's on the agenda.
It's on the
So you're
agenda,
gonna change
we're
the
just
time.
we're just
And
adjourning.
we're not spending any
We're
money.
adjusting times is all.
Maybe
We're not
we
even
just,
changing dates.
we have
So-
this, that,
So I have the same feeling. It's like,
That's
it's like,
a
why do we
public-
come if we can't even
You
make
got
a
it, Jess?
motion?
Because I have it up, I can.
because it's a public
Want me to
document,
edit it?
it's an
Yeah,
agenda.
because I did want to know for
It's
this.
a public, anybody out in the public that looked at the agenda, looked at that document that we're approving,
Why?
it's altered.
Meeting dates,
And
we're gonna
say
edit.
that we altered something without public, sites came from public opinion.
Yes.
I'm just saying, it's
What
not
I'm
gonna
gonna
happen,
do-
but this could be, just like this.
Yeah.
So what I'm
Could
gonna
be.
do,
6 PM except as follows for December and August.
What's on the agenda is the date.
And the time, you look at it.
Is there a time?
Yes, at the top.
Or was it?
Go, open it, open
It
it.
says 6
It does
PM.
list the time.
Oh, it does
say
have the time.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter, I mean.
They're all
That's-
6
that's-
PM calls,
that's change.
work session.
Right.
Well, that's what they see on the agenda.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, it's a public document.
Yeah, but all they see on the agenda is this right here.
They can look at that
They can
attachment.
open that document, it's not a public.
It's okay, we're gonna change it.
I mean, we can make an amendment.
You
to
can
change
make
the
a
motion.
motion
Right now.
to amend.
Exactly, we make a motion to amend all the time,
And that's fine.
once it's on the document.
I'll make that motion when the time comes.
And I'll second it right now.
okay. Executive session, I do not have anything in executive session outside of the hirings, and there's nothing to say, so I say there's no need to go to executive session if you guys are all in agreement.
Well, Doug, could you tell
I'm
us
letting
about
you
the,
forward now, Matt.
you went about the, I was at the open house and the person that you were hiring for, for the computer class, the students thought they were not a teacher, you know that. They thought they were gonna substitution teachers when you hired.
Okay, well, the teacher's already started. and
I know that,
doing
I
well.
know that, I know that, I just, that was really strange, when I came to the open house, I talked to some of the students, and they had a different person, then I talked to the administration, they said that person was finish the job, I said, I was gonna discuss that at this meeting. I'm okay with.
So we put a long-term-
I'm okay with your hiring.
So Dennis, let me just clarify. We were interviewing, we put a long-term sub into the position, which was one of the guys we interviewed. He was not our answer. We put him in as a long-term sub, hired through ESS. So the student perspective is we got a sub. We had Mr. Miller working every day with that sub. We had the instructional aide working every day with that sub. That sub was kind of almost given a trial run to see if he could handle it. He was very smart IT, not the greatest people skills. So for the kids, they would be confused, because that's all they knew at that point. We were interviewing for that position right then while that was occurring that week. We actually, the guy started the following week, so we were just finalizing whether he was accepting or not accepting and so forth at that point.
Yeah,
So an open house, they would not have.
Can I just interject here real fast? We're talking about people, I think that'd be better
That would
if you
be
would
an
talk
executive
between the
session.
two of you privately.
Yeah,
before-
because I don't
before the
think the rest of
executive
us
session.
are actually interested in
Well,
this topic right now.
There's no way second.
All right,
Can I just make a motion to approve the entire agenda, right, as a flat?
okay.
Can I? Because I wanna do that, let's go. Make a motion to approve the entire agenda as is.
Well, first of all, you don't have a president,
You have
so
to
you
let
gotta.
the
We haven't, we don't, we haven't
Can you
even,
do that?
we haven't did nothing yet. We just went over review.
I have to wash my hair, it's Tuesday.
Oh
Come
my
on.
gosh,
We just,
Christmas is coming.
we just reviewed the agenda.
I need to get in my jacuzzi and relax for a minute.
Sam will call the meeting order.
Actually, I can't, because you haven't approved me even as a
Yeah.
member.
Right.
Oh, fair enough.
Dang it.
We have,
But
yeah, we have to let.
Matt's working on it here.
I'm a couple clips away from having everything Dennis wants.
Well, I don't know about that, that's not pushing.
One thing, one thing, I'll be happy to do that. I have no, objection.
I will stand up.
Yeah, but I said.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, I was.
Just making sure I have the right information. We are doing a lunch meeting on February 22nd. And August 14th.
Correct.
Yes.
We are doing a breakfast meeting on December 16th.
Yes.
I can remove the attachment and hit save and we'll be ready to go. Sorry about that. Mike, will you open up that item just to make sure it's saved correctly?
Yes. Let me refresh the page.
No. Keep going down. No.
Yeah.
Go see. Okay. So I cut and pasted into it, so committee meeting starts at 6, committee meeting starts at noon, committee meeting starts at 6, 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 committee meeting starts at noon, committee meeting starts at 6, committee meeting starts at 6, committee meeting starts at 6, at 8:30 with the regular meeting to follow each time. Does that sound good to you guys?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Doesn't look good as nice on my screen. Mike, if you move the book, yeah, we're good. All right.
It's all format.
Lots of fun. All right, so we're gonna call the meeting to order. So I guess gavel it, we're calling the meeting to order.
Wait, are you on gavel? You're not on microphone.
He asked me to.
Okay. Let's start with a moment of reflection. Amen. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would say we probably should stay on that.
All right, under new district appointed committee members, we have 4 of our current members being reappointed from General McLean, Northwestern Union City, and Wattsburg. Do I have a motion to accept that?
So, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Then we have roll call.
Mr. McManus, Mr. Fortin,
Present.
Dr. Wise, Mr. Osmanni,
Present.
Ms. Brink,
Accounted for.
Mr. Koblenz, Mr. Lindner,
Present.
Mr. Boyd,
Here.
Mr. Rain,
Here.
Mr. Gilbert,
Here.
Mr. Morvay.
Here.
Next up, we have the chairperson election. So we call for nominations to elect a chairperson.
Sam Ring. Second.
Any other motions? All right, motion to close nominations.
So moved.
So we have a first and a second. Motion to approve. Vote on nominations of chairpersons is basically motion to approve the chairperson. Do we need a roll call on the vote or just all together?
You can do it all together.
All right.
Aye.
Motion to
Aye.
approve?
Aye.
Do we have to do a first and second on that though?
Who's our vice chairman now?
Okay.
Corey was first.
So who's the first on that one? We never got a
Corey
first and
was
second.
first, I was second.
Corey was first.
Oh, were you first?
Yes.
I vote.
Dennis was first. Corey was the second on that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Sam. The meeting's yours.
Thank you so much. Who's our vice chair now?
It's a good question.
He's double vice.
Okay, we open nominations. Any other nominations? Somebody want to move to close nominations?
Second.
Move, second, and close nominations. Did you get that? Because there's only one, all those in favor of Steve being vice chair?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations. I do have a couple months, I'm not gonna be here, so I'll try to make sure you know about this. We don't have executive session. We had one little amendment of some information, not any new motion, so it's there. Meeting minutes. Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and second, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Student accomplishments, we have done all that. We have a guest and public comment. Anybody like to address the board? All right, we had to get to that. Everything else? Is there any reason we can't?
What?
One motion for the agenda as presented. Try it.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the entire agenda as presented.
It's updated.
Presented and updated.
And updated.
Meeting minutes.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion on any item? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Then that would take us to adjournment.
So moved.
Moved and second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
And you as well.
It's all right.
What month are you now gonna be?
We don't really have a meeting about 6.
You'll see we do that twice.
You mean all that previous discussion? Yeah. That's just the.
Doesn't matter. I'm leaving Easter.